are Squawking Dead, ouch, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. And this is going to be the last episode we do last breakdown we do of an episode we're covering in quite a while. However, we have tons and tons of treats for you in the next couple of weeks because we still haven't finished our coverage of episode 100, which is our tribute to ourselves, a little milestone for us, where we've compiled our favorite clips over the years of our seasonal coverage of various TWD universe shows. So, hi, thank you for joining us. And I just wanted to say, before we start, again and again, we don't say it enough, thank you for watching. That's it. We're gaining ground finally after 3 years, closing out our 3 years of podcasting. We're doing quite well in other countries, not so well in the United States, but I know that's a tough crowd. But that's okay. You're here. You're listening right now. Thank you. Again and again, thank you. You don't have to support the podcast with a coffee, you just have to listen. Or you don't. You don't have to listen at all, that's kind of the point. And the fact that you gain some sort of value in that, in what we're doing, how we're breaking things down, it's just enough for me. It's just enough for me. So, thanks, Brian. Brian Ensign from Fear the Walking Dead is on the live on Instagram. Thank you so much. So, a couple of bits of news that we reveal in this episode are the renewal of Fear the Walking Dead for Season 7. And discussions about renewing, giving The Walking Dead World Beyond an additional season. But there's a caveat. If you want to listen to more, if you want to find out what that caveat is, you're going to have to listen all the way through. And it's quite a long one, but it's not as long as we thought it would be, considering the unedited footage is quite long. But we managed to actually trim it down to just about 2+ hours. Remember, just after this podcast, this live stream, head on over to Blazy Gardner's channel on YouTube. She will be premiering her unboxing video, or is it IG Live? Her Instagram. Either her Instagram or her YouTube. Tell me, Blazy, before I run out of steam. But she'll be doing an unboxing video on her live streaming channels. So be sure to catch that. And it's always good to check with Blazy. Okay, so it's on Instagram Live. Thanks for correcting me, Sharon D. Instagram Live at Blazy Gardner. It's exactly how it sounds. And either way, I really do hope you enjoy this. And if you are moved to support the podcast, head on over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. Just follow us. You don't have to buy us a coffee, which would give you access to supporter back content. And if you feel moved to do it during the stream, your coffee buy will actually show up during the stream forever. That will be on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram even, forever. And your support will show throughout that episode, so that we appreciate that. And what that'll give you is the ability to join us in our recording sessions, helping us break down, giving us your input while we're breaking down these episodes so that you leave an indelible mark in the way we break things down. That's why we say we are Squawking Dead. It's not just me. Even though I try to lend your voices from our conversations on Sunday nights when we're live watching on Reddit, I do add your voices so that we can dispel, include, and just root out every single possibility and every single angle, because that's what we do. We pulverize episodes of the Walking Dead universe. You, me, and the world. So without further ado, I'm pleased to present you the season finale coverage of The Walking Dead World Beyond, a astounding finale. So I'll see you in the chat, live watchers, premiere watchers. I'll see you soon. Bye. We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. And today we've got our coverage of the season finale of The Walking Dead World Beyond. Season 1, limited series. It's going to be a long one. Buckle up. Why don't you get some coffee so you can sit down and watch this whole thing? We might break this up. We don't know yet. We're going to go through it. We're going to break it down because there's some interesting nuggets that we can tear completely freaking apart. There's some topics. People say things. And I want to just say, hey, why did you say that? And there's also a couple things here, but whatever. I'm your host, David Cameo, and I'm joined by Cosmo09, Rachael Burt, and you got Sharon D in the chat, Blazy Gardner on the internets, whatever. You know where to find Blazy Gardner.
Blazy Gardner on the keys.
Yeah. On the keys. That's all she does. So she does that note, and that's
awesome.
it.
I think we've got a lot of answers to questions that we've had throughout the entire season so far. We have even more questions that will be solved in season 2, and I cannot wait. I am so excited to see where this goes. I am more excited at the end of this season than I was at the end of Fear. For the first season of Fear. Let me clarify.
Oh, okay. Oh, you mentioned that actually. Yeah. That's funny. Sharon says she liked the deepest cut better,
Okay.
But they were both awesome. Anybody who was on the fence on Reddit felt kind of the same way as you, in the sense that it felt maybe the first several, basically every episode until the end was more of like a milquetoast, feeling of an episode. But when they got to the last one, it was kind of like, oh, this is where it all comes together. This is where why it all happened that way. So a lot of people were very impressed with the finale, I think. Still some people going, well, shouldn't have had to go through 70% of shit to get to the end, which is all action and stuff where it all comes together. God, why couldn't they just fix it? Why couldn't they do the things the right way?
There's purpose to it, though. There's a reason it had to go the way it did.
Anybody who watches The Walking Dead knows, okay, you can go in medias res and not know a lot about everybody all at once. You don't need to know their backstories. You just go into the world and we figure them out on the way. But this was a specific episode to highlight a set of characters who find their way and make the changes that they need to make to find who they are out in the world. And then by the end of this episode, a lot of the emphasis on needing to see what's out there, to know who you are, knowing the way the world is, finding out who you really are is a very important thing. And that's what it's always been about. It's about who are you now? And I think you need that development to kind of know how to treat these characters or how to react to these characters. And by the time we get to this episode, it's kind of like, well, now it's all coming to a head. And yet it still shows us a little bit more development from most of our characters, I want to say. Yeah, even Percy, to an extent.
Still not a fan, by the way, but...
Flashes image on the screen. Silas beheading Percy. I think of that every single time when you say, well, I kind of want to know how Percy's doing. Is he alive? I thought he was dead, and you thought he was alive. I was very adamant about him being dead. But hey, almost dead. So I'm not that far off.
If Elton hadn't have found him, yeah, he would be dead. So it took me a minute, and I hope you're going to say the same thing, but it took me a minute to realize that Elton was imagining Percy sitting next to him. After he drug him all that way, and then he finally plops down and is just like, ugh. And then Percy gets up like nothing happened. I'm like, what the hell is going on? He was just almost dead, and now you're just going to pop up like nothing. I was really upset.
It was like, what the fuck is this show?
Yeah, I was really upset. I'm like, if you are okay, why are you making Elton drag you all over this field? But then, they gave us an answer pretty quick. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm dumb.
I wouldn't blame you, because when we find him, he's up and mobile. He's a little bit mobile, but he does collapse. So I would have thought, okay, this is a bit hokey. And then all of a sudden, and he's in the way he was talking to him initially when you didn't really know. Mm-hmm. I mean, you didn't really know. I mean, in the back of your mind, you're like, this is weird.
Yeah.
But even the way he's talking to him, he doesn't sound all that injured.
Right. It's
like, thanks for the ride, Elton.
Yeah, breathing heavy or struggling in any way. Yeah, the whole thing was just weird, and I couldn't figure it out. So I'm glad they revealed it to us right away.
In the only way that Elton could, because we've seen this before of how, remember what I was saying before about what Silas was really mad about in Madman Across the Water?
He had sided with Felix and trying to get everybody to turn around and go back to Campus Colony. Or he was gonna try.
The truth of the matter is that wasn't what he was upset about. Silas was just upset that Elton couldn't just admit that he was afraid.
Right.
Just couldn't do that. And so one of the things what his excuse was, okay, fear is just a response to risk and all that stuff. And he was talking about like our biological evolution and so this kind of comes up again when he talks about, oh, I'm just having a stress response and I'm hallucinating. And first he goes, blah, blah, blah. Same thing. You're a human being, Elton. Act like one, This is just what's going to happen. I kind of like that Percy is kind of like that foil, like for the show in his hallucinatory sense. When we see Elton at first, though, you see him on his own. He's carrying the burden, the burden of like believing in Silas and moving in the world with all this stuff, literally, but also like figuratively.
Not to mention the heavy baggage Hope just piled on him.
Yeah. And, Amelia, too, in a weird way, having all that knowledge about Amelia and what she did by the end of it, because it seems like from the start, when he's wrestling with like what he's learned about it, it almost seems like he's like he found out something that he didn't want to know. And then later on, you see the same thing going on when he's forced to kind of deal with Percy and find out what his injury was. He is forced to find out something he might not want to know about how Percy, was hurt.
Right.
So it's just a lot. It's a lot for somebody to handle all at once. And that's kind of the point. I don't blame him for not. And the reason for that is he needs to see that sometimes when you're faced with a difficult situation, like Amelia was, you're not going to be the paragon of goodness and morality, and you're not always going to make the right decision. You're going to avoid the pain, even though it's a stress response. You're going to avoid, you are going to go crazy, even though you know that you're imagining Percy is a stress response and all that stuff. You're not perfect, even though you know what's going on, you cannot help what's going on. You're not in control. So I kind of, there's like an irony in that. And so, but you go back to like the beginning when he's tearing the pages out of the manuscript, it's kind of like he's disappointed in her. Like the bubble's been popped.
Yeah. Well, the last time he saw his mom, he was 5 years old. Okay. Do you remember what you thought about your mom at 5?
Yes.
She was
very much.
She was a goddess, right? I mean, could do no wrong. I mean, the best person in your life, she was this larger than life thing to him, perfect in every way because of all of his memories. And now he has to face this harsh reality that this perfect woman did something horrible.
Or is capable of doing something horrible, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. So that's gotta be tough for him to swallow. But, I think he handled it really maturely. I mean, yeah, he ripped the pages out and everything, but then he goes back and he collects them again and kind of calms himself down and is like, all right, I had my fit. Now I can really think about this and apply it somehow, right? Learn from it. And I think we see him do that.
Yeah, I think so too. And more so, it's like him picking up the pages, picking up the pieces that he broke. You take that one step further and it's like he really puts it at first all on his mom. And, because when the bubble bursts, it's like, okay, who do I blame now? But then, and you realize the one person Hope thought he would blame the most is Hope. And yet Elton realizes right away, oh, you were just a kid. What were you supposed to do? My mom literally killed your mom. What were you supposed to do? And so you just see he automatically skips like Hope as the suspect right off the bat. I was very surprised by that. I thought they might wrestle with that.
I agree. I thought we would see Elton lash out at Hope, at least a little bit, but he didn't. Like I said, he handled it so maturely for being such a little baby in his little suit.
His little corduroy suit.
And that's crazy, right? I mean, Hope did kill his mom. I mean, she is to blame for the death of Amelia. But he sees the bigger picture there and is like, well, really, my mom sort of started that chain of events. Had the adult in the situation not reacted the way she did, the child wouldn't have been left to do what she did. So again, I mean, this is like, at 36 years old, I don't even know if I could be that rational.
What's really funny about all of this, though, too, is that what you may forget in the little interaction between he and Percy, though, or quote unquote Percy, is that it is really him. Down to like, okay, starting from the fact that like, hey, maybe you should figure out what happened to me, and not run away from this, because real you does not want to see. Real you doesn't want to wrestle with Amelia's choice. Real you does not want to know what the truth. Real you wants to rage. So Figment Percy is making him actually check out what happened. He finds out what happened. Cool. Okay. It's not as what it seems. And then finally Percy sits him down, and it's still, again, it's it's really him. It's really him
Right.
trying to be kind to himself. It's really him that's trying to get him to wrestle with what it must have been like for Amelia also. He is trying to figure out how this sort of thing could have happened. And when he's forced to reckon with whether he should leave Percy behind, that other part of him, that mature, really weird part of him, oddly so mature, sits him down and says, and if it's okay, I'm going to read the whole thing, because Percy Elton's speech to himself reminded me a lot of Rick's hallucination with Sasha. Do you remember that?
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
About every decision we make, every sacrifice, everything that we're forced to reckon with. And sometimes it's a sacrifice, and sometimes that sacrifice is necessary so that the people we leave behind can move forward, right? And that's what that reminded me about. And so he goes, Percy, quote unquote, says, "It's a crazy world out there, huh? Full of good people who sometimes disappoint us. But it's damn beautiful. Look, you're not just a guy behind a camera anymore, Elton. You're a part of it now. It's not what it was supposed to be." It never is. But you didn't want me to die. That's a noble thing. But trying to save a guy who's probably already dead, it's not worth it. You can live, Elton, to save other people down the line, other people who can live to change the world. There's no changing the world. We have 15 years before we go extinct. You sure about that? I think your mom had more faith in people than you think. If she really thought it was going to be over, why have a son? Why have your sister? I think it's because despite what she wrote in her manuscript, and deep down, she believed that people stood a fighting chance. There's a big, beautiful world waiting for you out there, Elton. Go, fight for it. Be brave, like she knew you could be. Yeah, see, that's Sharon D. She says, "You're not just behind the camera anymore, Althea. That was my swan song." The sole survivor. Fear the Walking Dead, Althea. And she also says, but if you remember, Elton's always been kind of mature. Think of how he handled the death of his dad. I don't know about maturity. Like, he's always handled things, seeing all the evidence about Silas and still thinking, like, I don't care what he did. At the end of the day, I know that whatever he tried to do had just cause. So he kind of he took out all the fat in whatever argument you could have about Silas or any nuance. And he just said, you know what? It doesn't really matter, because I know that even if you tell me all the gory details of what Silas did to Percy and Tony, so at the end of the day, I know that whatever it was done to defend other people, to protect them, or to protect himself, but mostly to protect others. So so it's more intelligence, I think, but in terms of, and he does the same thing with Hope in this instance. It's like he automatically goes to the fact that, like, okay, rationally speaking, she was just a kid who just watched her mom get shot by my mom. And she was the adult. She should have known better, which is what he says out loud. Oh, and I mentioned one more thing. It's like, Elton is literally figuratively burdened, drags Percy along, and it's very similar to Felix in a sense, who also in this episode feels burdened, feels like he has to take it all on himself, which is also just like Ed in Fear the Walking Dead. In this instance, Felix is trying to make up for his mom, wanting a win. So he's like, he lets the wind take him somewhere. Like, he's like in service to the wind. Like, I don't know where I'm going, but I might as well follow the wind, and hopefully the wind will take me to where I can make up for my mom's mistakes by saving someone. Because he's very, very concerned about saving Percy. I gotta save you. That's just what I have to do to make up for this mess that my mom made in his head, probably.
If you can save Percy, it makes up for a little bit of what she did.
Well, and it's funny how Sharon is saying that's the reason. That's my reasoning for Charlie too. She was just a kid who watched her guardian get murdered. Yeah. And so she's just she's in service of this group, trying to figure out how she can contribute.
Charlie also followed the group and plotted, but okay.
But you know what? This is not unlike I didn't notice at first. I didn't notice this at first because these two weren't paired off as much or at all. We haven't seen them together at all. But Charlie and Dwight aren't too different. Charlie was a kid, sure. Charlie was, is a little bit more innocent or blameless because, like we said, she watched her guardian get murdered by Nick, who I'm sure she had complicated feelings about. Okay, he was good to me, but, he wasn't on my side, my tribe side, which is kind of like Dwight. It's like Dwight got caught up with the wrong people. What was it? You just met the wrong people first, Mary says?
Yeah.
Yep. It's the same thing as Dwight, and so he was forced down a path, and It's just, you met the wrong people first. And so that's what happened. And so you have these two people who are just, and Dwight unburdens, and he just decides, hey, I was with the wrong people. I did things I didn't want to do. And now I'm just living in service of whatever good I can eke out in this world because I need to make up for things. So it's the same thing, except Charlie has a lot less blame in a sense. What was her sin? She killed our favorite character. That's essentially what it is, isn't it? Though?
And killed one person, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Dwight's killed a lot of people.
Dwight's killed a lot of people. Well, I want to go with. I'm going to find Sherry and find happiness. Oh shit. Well, good luck, Charlie. Fuck you. Yeah. Fuck you, Charlie.
I know it.
See how that like once you get the big picture, it's like, oh shit.
Doesn't make sense. I can't make sense of it.
But you can, but it's not a good reason. It's like, but she killed Nick. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's my favorite character. It's like one of my favorite characters. Yeah.
She killed Nick. That's not okay.
Yeah, exactly. End of story. Otherwise, she's just a kid and again, like you have to understand, I had to square that circle a long time ago because I did not know how I'd continue this series otherwise. Honestly, it was just rough. I needed to get through it. And then once I got through it, it was like a mantra. You just have to kind of go, okay, I killed Ennis and I have to get through it. Okay. All right. Okay. Now we can continue breaking these episodes down. Okay, good. And that's every episode until I'm okay.
And I do see remorse from Charlie. I mean,
it's still there.
I do. I see her feeling guilty. I just don't want to. I'm not ready to like her yet.
It's chipping away at you, though, isn't it?
I mean, she is. She's getting through.
Well, okay. Speaking of getting through, though, Elton is ready to leave Percy. And again, I want to remind everybody, this is that part of Elton that's rationalizing what it must have been like for Amelia to do what she did in that moment. And so he decides to walk away. He's like, you're right, fake me, Percy. That this must have been what my mother felt, like this is what she must have felt. And so and the last thing he does is hold on to his mother, his bead. And then he's walking away and then he goes, no, that's not how this is going to go down. In the same movement, it's almost as if he's saying, goodbye, Mom. Thank you. I needed to learn this lesson. I needed to know that it's okay to be afraid and that we are going to make mistakes, but we're out here now. It's just sink or swim. It is about survival. It is about understanding this world, how it's beautiful, but also how it's dark, the tiger and the lamb, that whole thing. And then he says, but I'm still going to do this thing. I'm still going to just fight for it. I'm going to fight for this world and fight for the people in it. And that scene was just really cool. Like it was a little funny too with the little fisherman's friend thing. Like I thought that was a little cute, but it was nice to see him kind of perk up, rally, and just say, fuck it.
Yeah. The only thing extra I wanted to see in that scene was him stab the walkers in the head after he wound him up and pushed him over, and then he took out the one coming at him. I just wanted to see him go over and take care of the ones that were still moving around.
Right,
that was all.
Right. Because when he fell over, I was just kind of like, finish the job. You're gonna get bit. I was like, I'm like the grimace emoji. I'm like, ooh, finish the job.
Oh, Sharondy. Spot freaking on. Yes. Sharondy says, in the first episode, while they were in class, the teacher asked Elton what he wanted from life. And Elton said, I don't want to be afraid anymore, but I know I probably will be.
Well, and a whole bunch of other things.
Perfect.
But yes, a lot of the things he says in that episode, in that particular scene, he kind of retreads here by way of Percy / his speech to himself. It's a big, beautiful world. This is what you out. And he even says, it's not what it was supposed to be, what I thought it would be,
Mm-hmm.
And then reiterating what his mom said, we only have 15 years before we go extinct, and I love how that comes up again, but like not until the next episode. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I love how Amelia's projection was 15 years, or Amelia / Elton, because I think most of that was Elton, like taking Amelia's work and then doing his own calculations about the end of the world, because he says 15. And then Lila says later on, it's like, oh, if we don't curtail this, it's 30 years. It's like Lila had more conservative projections than Amelia / Elton, I think.
Yeah. Did you hear Percy says to Elton when Elton discovers the bullet wound?
Oh,
surprise Rocket Man.
I love that. Which again, wasn't that something that his mom called him?
Did she? I don't know. We found out he was named after Elton John.
Right. I forget if she called him Rocket Man or Tiny Dancer. Just can't remember. I think it was Tiny Dancer though. I can't remember.
I guess I don't remember her saying any nicknames out loud. Just my little explorer in her manuscript.
Oh, and Sharon says, I thought his dad called him Rocket Man.
His dad. Oh, maybe. Okay, maybe.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Sharon D also says, and the title on the board in the classroom was Hamlet, where a son pretends to be something he's not.
Huh. Wow.
Very interesting, Eltian.
Charity picking up all those little treats for us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, then you're right. Yeah, Dad called him Rocket Man because of the flashback when he showed him the meteor in the picture. Yeah.
You're right.
I'm just trying to teach Rocket Man a lesson. Okay. So
Elton is remembering his mother and his father.
The whole of it. Yeah.
In this little, I can't call it a fever dream, this hallucination he's having.
The stress response.
Stress response, yeah.
I like that he has this weird moment with Percy, and I'll tell you why I mentioned this. Like this weird moment, this fake moment with Percy, like, oh, I'm getting closer to this guy. And then he almost tries to do that at the end of the next episode, like at the end of it.
When Percy's finally awake. Yeah. Like, we bonded in here, man. Why aren't we really friends?
Like, why isn't what I'm saying at the end here working? Like, I actually wrote it down because I thought it would be kind of funny now that we're talking about it in sequence. Like, so he goes, where do you think they took him, Silas? I don't know.
Yeah.
How are we gonna find the others? I don't know. So what are we gonna do? I don't know. But then he has this speech like, Percy, you're my friend now, right? So I'm going to give you a little speech. He's like, but I know we're going to figure it out. Well, Liza Head is not going to be easy. We're a part of it now. Like, he's like, you know these words. Like, you sort of said it to me, right? You, personally.
Right.
I used to think we were the last of the species. Again, this is something he mentions in response to Percy him. But then so much has changed. I've seen the impossible happen, like him waking up. Holy shit. That's how I know we're going to find the others and save them, because we can do the impossible. Like, who said that, Morgan? Fear the Walking Dead season 5. We're going to make our lives count, not because we're the last generation, but because we're the beginning. So,
and is the beginning.
But it's the way he says it. And Percy, I'm watching Percy's face as he's walking. He's like, I don't know what this guy's saying at all. I don't know what he's saying. He seems pretty confident. I'll go with it, but all right. This is the most confident I've ever seen you, Rocket Man. Wait,
that's
funny. I wonder where I heard that before. Must have been someone's fever dream. I mean, watch it again. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's like, there's a little dart back and forth. He's like looking at him side eye. He's like, all right. Going, I guess. My uncle just died.
Oh my gosh.
It's great that there's a callback. Like, he does recognize what's going on, what he reconciles in his mind at the moment, and then says it out loud in the real world. And it actually sounds better in a way while he's with Percy out in the middle of this field, having just killed all these empties. Let's use the vernacular. Okay.
That's right.
He finds like this walkie in Percy's pocket.
He's clicking Morse code.
Oh, initially. That's right. And he's like, Felix, pick up on it.
He's SOSing.
Yeah, you guys are so sharp. I thought that was clever, but then ultimately useless. It doesn't work.
Yeah, and if someone does know Morse code, are they going to be the people that you want coming to rescue you?
And that quite possibly was the indicator too. Like him just doing Morse code is like, oh, okay, let's. And you know what? If Kubelik was the one, or whoever was in the area was the one to pick him up, it's just like, yeah, of course we're going to come after this guy. But yeah, that didn't pan out. And it ends up being that Huck picks up the channel, and then Percy wakes up in like feverish and whatever. But like he wakes up and he's like, she's the one who shot me. So
right, don't tell her where we are.
Charity says SOS stands for Save Our Silas. Totally
Yes,
different meaning.
that is what it stands for.
So now, what did you feel when you saw Silas's face, knowing that he wasn't the killer?
Oh my gosh, the look of relief on his face. And I mean, I was breathing heavy with him, like during this scene. Like I could just see him like unpacking all of this, and he like throws his arms up and he like runs his hands through it. I mean, you can just see him like unloading this burden that has literally been like weighing him down. I mean, I literally saw the weight come off of him, and it was amazing. It was so gratifying because I knew it. I mean, we all knew, right? We all knew. So it was wonderful to finally see that moment.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I'm gonna tell you guys something, and this is how I know that Hal Cumpson is like a really good actor, because he did something in that moment that I did in real life a long time ago. Like when I was 19, 20, I was driving on the way to pick up my friend to a theater, like in a theater audition. Actually, it was like the night we were going to audition for these different parts. He ended up playing the younger version of me because I was just a little bit older than him and fatter. Whatever. Anyway, so I got into a little accident on the way to his place to pick him up, and what it was, I was driving and going into an intersection to the other side of the street. Somebody who just decided to just jump into the crosswalk with their dog, and I swerved out of the way and hit like 2 or 3 parked cars. It was a big accident, and I was driving a big car just to avoid from hitting her. Right. What ended up happening was I ended up having to go to court like 2 years later, because that's how quickly the wheels of the system work. This thing happens. They decide they want to sue you because they want to get more money from the insurance company, which they were going to give her a generous amount too. It was like $70,000. It was like a lot of money. And
wait, the woman you didn't hit?
The woman I did not hit. Yeah, exactly.
The woman you did not hit wanted money. Okay, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I twisted my ankle. It's like, oh, okay. Are you alive? Because you would not have been.
Right.
Slamming on the brakes, the anti-locking brake system trying to kick in, and then me just swerving out of the way to miss her, which I did.
Good.
So throughout the case, they're examining certain witnesses, or they're going through some of the evidence and stuff like that. And this is like before we decide who's at fault. Like, okay, let's gather everything up. There was a deposition. There's this, there's that. And it actually went to court. I'm sitting there with my dad every day. It's like 3 days. And I even testify. She testifies. And it comes time for the jury to actually decide, because we had a jury. This is how far it went. Now, just keep in mind, every single day, the insurance company was offering her a higher settlement, like it got up to $70,000. And then she said, no, I'm going all the way. And it's like, okay, all right, fine. So it comes time for the jury to kind of render at least the fault part of the court, whatever the proceedings. And they decided I wasn't at fault. And I had the same reaction that Silas had. It was like that, oh my God, like looking around the room, like shit, tears streaming down my face, because, I'm a kid, and like, I'm like 20 years old, and I'm like thinking to myself, why would anybody believe me? Why would anybody believe me at all? Why would they believe me? There's no reason for people to believe a shitheel like me or whatever, that sort of thing that you feel about yourself. And it's just like, and I like knowing and fighting for what you believe in, telling the truth, laying it all out, and trusting others. And again, this concept will come up.
That's hard.
Yeah. Trusting others for you to decide whether you are right or wrong about something. And life, right? Life doesn't always work like that when you tell the truth. So
nope.
I remember feeling that in that moment, and just looking at Silas, and it brought me back, and I was like, holy shit. Yeah. It's like knowing in your heart, sort of making peace with the fact that you're not going to win. Cause this is one of those cases that never goes your way. You're the driver. It's a pedestrian. There is just no way that's going to go your way. And yet it still went my way. It still went the right way, the way I knew it happened. It's unbelievable.
So since they ruled in your favor, does that mean she didn't get any money?
She didn't get any money.
That's what you get, greedy. She probably jumped out in front of your car on purpose.
You just pulled
I'm glad it happened.
You just pulled an iris. That's what you get. I liked it. No, but I like it. I'm not going to say it because, like, man, I don't know how much she had to pay. I don't know. Now she's like less than nothing. And so I can't say anything.
Hey, she should have taken the settlement.
I'll take the reaction.
She didn't even get injured.
Yeah, I know. That's the silly part. Like, she kept mentioning about her dog needing to urinate. Like, holy shit. Okay, so you had to run across the street? What the fuck, man?
Right?
Anyway, so.
Let the dog pee on your carpet.
Well,
other than get run over by a car.
Yeah, exactly. Silas is having his moment, realizing he's not a monster, and Elton saying, "You're not the monster. You never were." And like this whole time, I'm thinking about like Percy. Actually, he's like, "Guys, I'm right here. My dad figure, my uncle just died.
Right.
I'm on death's door." Like watching Silas have this moment, which rightfully so, but like at the same time, I'm like that doesn't help his uncle at all. His uncle.
No.
I know it's a weird thing that to think about both of these things at the same time, but they do a good job of it. Like they kind of quickly take you from point A to point B really quickly, being respectful of like, hey, I'm right here. I'm almost dead.
Right.
My uncle is dead.
I like the idea in that moment when Silas and Percy were finally face to face. I liked thinking to myself that Percy always knew the truth. He always knew Silas was innocent. So he's not looking at Silas, like he did anything wrong.
Let's go back to something he says just as he's explaining the situation. It was like, she shot my uncle and she shot me, and I couldn't say anything because this is something I said. This is one of the scenarios I said, because he thought if he had, like, what if the others are in on it? He couldn't flip Silas. He couldn't, you know what I mean? Like, he was having a hard time getting Hope to cop on to her honesty and all that stuff. So at the moment, he was just kind of like, oh, they don't trust me. Or like, oh, I'm obviously not in as much as I'd like to be in this moment. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, it's like this other person that they were waiting to meet up with shot me. And it's just like, oh, they're obviously in on it too, because, what reason would I have to trust them? So like, again, this is the bad people situation where like, oh, I'm out. See ya. So yeah.
Well, yeah, because he didn't know who he could trust. I think we were right too. I mean, Silas did beat Tony's face in, but that was because he had turned.
Oh, no.
Yes? No?
I think Huck did that. I think Huck definitely did that.
Beat him in the face?
Oh, yeah. Well, this is the thing. She shot both of them. There was no reason to beat him in the face. If she shot him,
but
I think,
don't you think she also would have run after Percy if he was getting away?
I think she tried to, yeah. And then came back and finished the job. Here's how it goes down.
Okay. I feel like it happened really a lot faster than that, though, don't you?
It must have. So I have a feeling that Huck goes in, shoots Tony, tries to cover. I think she purposefully covered it up so that she.
Well, and his wrench was in there, so she could have used the wrench to bash Tony's face in, not her own fists.
Well, yeah. Well, and the whole point was to cover the wrench in blood. The whole point was to implicate Silas, in what better way than to use his stuff, his tools, whatever. But the whole point of it is that like Percy walks in on this as it's happening, like, obviously like covering up and the whole thing.
Okay.
He gets shot, climbs out the window, runs like all hell to try to get away. Lets the current take him probably as far as it can go. And then, which is very helpful to him in the moment. Because then Huck can't go after him. But the whole point is to like, but implicating Silas.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, implicating Silas was the whole point. This is why I said when she walks up to him in the beginning of the last episode, which was Sky is a Graveyard, she goes, "I'm sorry, kid. Like I have to implicate you further. Like I have to, by way of these images." Because while she's
they're not buying it. I gotta.
Well, while rifling around in his bag for the wrench, of course she sees this stuff. Oh, I saw him whipping it out at a campfire and masturbating to it. Anyway, no, let's move on.
I like that time breakdown. That makes a lot more sense to me.
Yeah, and it could have gone on board. And it could have gone either way. Like, okay, like they're both there. You only, she shoots Tony, then she shoots Percy. Maybe Percy gets a moment to push Huck away and then runs out, and then obviously she has to deal with Tony. So that's another scenario where like, okay, but now I have to continue implicating Silas. So I'm going to cut my losses with Percy and then just hope that he dies from that gunshot, which people do.
And he could have. So one quick question, just to tie a nice little ribbon around this whole scenario. How does Silas get blood on the backs of his hands?
Oh, that's totally Huck.
Huck came in and got in his face and wiped blood on him?
I would assume so, yeah. He'd probably already been passed out somewhere else, or who knows, and dragged him into the stall, possibly. And then
this is a lot of work for her to do without anybody noticing.
I agree, but at the same time, I can see it. I could totally see it. I mean, she's, she also makes sure she's the furthest away at the time, which may have been a result of her going after Percy, by the way, maybe in the aftermath. I've covered my tracks with Silas and Tony. Let me see if I can catch up to Percy. And that's why, like, she comes back she's the last one on the scene, remember? Because she's probably busy trying to find Percy in the moment.
Yeah, right,
Does that tie it a little bit more in a knot for you? Because I think the priority was to make up the scene. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
So that's
Silas, the blood on Silas's hands is still a little questionable. questionable, but I'll allow it.
Yeah. Well, because you have to remember at the end of the episode, when she's talking to Hope, she's saying, I did everything I could to separate you two without harming any of you.
Right.
And meaning any of this group, not Percy and Tony. Because
they don't count.
Yeah, they don't count. Basically, they don't count. But yeah, I don't think to say that she cares about Silas at all, but I think, if she can give him a chance, why not? So speaking about Huck, I kind of want to get into this now before we get a chance to talk about it later. But Liam from Undead Walking said something very interesting. He has a theory that he put up, and it is that Huck's entire backstory is fake. The backstory that was revealed to us only, by the way. It wasn't revealed to Hope. It wasn't revealed to anybody but us. The reason why he says this is he says the reason why she has to do this to herself is to kind of give herself a lie. And if you tell yourself a lie consistently, over and over again, you'll believe it yourself. And so she believes this own lie in order for her to infiltrate Omaha, which in turn allows her to infiltrate Campus Colony. Okay, do you get what I'm saying so far? Like the whole her being in the military, in the Marines, it's all a hoax.
I understand. Yeah, the episode we saw with her flashbacks was fake. I don't believe so.
I agree,
and it's because of what Sharon D's saying here. I think Elizabeth mentioned it. She makes a comment about Huck's past indiscretions and how people have a hard time trusting her, and I think what we saw is what Elizabeth's talking about. So
I think what they were saying was, and this is the thing that I wanted to link it to, was what Elizabeth says just before Hope and Elizabeth are getting flipped away on the helicopter, right? She says past indiscretions just before infiltrating Omaha. In particular, she says this.
Yep.
And so I don't know, and this is what I wanted to ask you was, do you think this is the incident, just before the Marines? So she's a deserter, she's taking all these civilians to where, who knows, and then she has to tell her mom, or maybe she finds her mom and lays all these civilians down on her. They're citizens of the Republic, whatever, and then she has to relay what she did to make them a part of it, which means also, by the way, that the Civic Republic has been in the making, or the civil defense, or whatever our theory is that we're going to work off of, has been in the works for a while now, as a possible takeover. Like letting the military and the National Guard duke it out, and then all of a sudden the Civic Republic rises up from those ashes, to kind of like pick up the pieces and say, hey, we're your new government now, you're going to follow us. That's what I was wrestling with also, because it's the timeline that makes me a little bit confused, because first of all, when does she get picked up in Omaha? When does she end up going to Campus Colony? And if it is all for the purpose of going to Campus Colony, because it sounds like Campus Colony got their shit together real quick. Why do we say this? Because of that orange in that last freaking episode, The Sky's a Graveyard. Yep. That 3-ringed orange, that little thing, like when he was 6 years old, Silas. So it's just like, so maybe they did get their shit together really early on. Maybe they had it all together and they were able to recoup really quickly and then have this community and have this production. Like I think who was saying this at the time, but like their means of production was really, they got that up really quickly. They weren't as self-sufficient as the Civic Republic, but at the same time, they made it work. They don't lack for anything. So I guess maybe it was so that's the thing. Like, what did she do to infiltrate? So she saves all these people, deserts her brothers in the Marines, and then is picked up by her mom, and then she's sent on this quest. Like she's thrown down the Mississippi and to infiltrate Omaha and infiltrate Campus Colony. I guess I thought it might have been like a separate incident, because it's the time thing that really throws me off. Because this is an awfully long spy plan, like 10 years, 10 years to spy, if that's the case, right? So it could be something else.
Could be. She might have done something just before Omaha that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too.
I also want to know what the dad's watch has to do with her story too, because Elizabeth makes a point to say he left that for us and it brought us back together, safe and sound despite everything. So what is it about this watch and or the dad? Does he Elizabeth's making it sound like him or the watch had to do with those two reuniting.
Right. And
after however long.
Well, also confirming that he's not dead. He just left us.
Right. Yeah.
Which is something that I said while we were doing the live. Well, I was live tweeting or live reacting to people on Sunday night was like, well, you know what? One of the interesting things, it could be that he is higher up on the food chain at the CR, if that's possible. Like I said, I thought to myself, oh, maybe he's running this operation. Maybe he's what brought them together. And Elizabeth is just a lower rank, let's say. Sharon is saying also the CRM would only know about Hope's gifts just recently because Lila is the one who told them about them. Right. And this is something we find out later on in her fake speech to fake Leo, who's not there. Thank goodness.
Her practice speech, right?
Yeah. Why'd you have to do in that room, you bitch? They scared the shit out of us. So she also continues, why did they have to infiltrate before they knew they wanted Hope? That's also another good question, right?
Well, I think I might have an answer for that. Huck brings up the fact that they're looking for Hope and people like her. So maybe Huck's mission is to find geniuses and collect them. You know, Hope might have just been the most recent target.
Yeah, I think so too. So the question is, it's possible that she did this infiltration a long time ago, not for Hope, obviously, and maybe just to infiltrate Campus Colony. I don't know. Maybe.
We don't even know how long she was with Campus Colony because she came from Omaha, right?
Yeah.
We don't even know how long she was with Campus.
Also, the impression that I had was that she was out there a while too, before she came to Omaha. That's what I thought. That's what it seemed like. The question that we have right now is, it could be one of two things. I don't think we're going to know, but I think it's good to mention that, okay, did Huck do this from the beginning? Did she infiltrate Omaha with the intention much later on down the road to infiltrate Campus Colony? Or was it something that just all happened recently, like in recent years, last few? That's a good question, you know, because it means, is the indiscretion that she had with the CR, the suspicion, did this happen way in the past? Was it the incident with the United States Marine Corps? Or was this more recent, like this incident with the CR more recent, and we're going to find out what that was?
Yeah.
That's the question. But either way, I'm going to say her past is real. I'll tell you,
I want to believe that it's true. I do. Because that's what is giving me faith that Huck is still good.
Yeah.
Is that flashback.
Liam is still, by the way, the thing that Liam is saying from Undead Walking is saying is the linchpin to his theory is that, you know, because in the beginning when we find out this little flashback, because as the flashback goes for these episodes, it goes like this. I'm gonna scout ahead 48 hours. She goes off. She meets Kublek.
Elizabeth.
Right.
Yeah.
She meets Kublek in this cabin-ish place, right? Okay. The sandwich, blah, 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 the conversation. Okay. She gives her the watch, blah, blah, blah. And Kublek says to her, you know, the people are losing faith in you. If not, we can come in, we can do this, we can take her out, handle the whole thing. And she goes, you know, you remind them about what I did, you know, what I did to my face. Moreover, what I did to my face.
And her arm. She mentioned she did something to her arm.
We don't know what that is, but at the same time.
We don't know what that, yeah. Okay.
Thank
you for confirming that. I'm like, did I miss something?
I think she mangled her arm, by the way, or did something to her arm at the raft. This is something that she mentioned.
Oh, yes. Sharon D's saying the same thing. Yep.
Okay, there
when
you
they
go.
found her on the raft, her arm was... Okay, thank you. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So it's not the first time we've heard that mentioned.
Yeah, it's not the first time. So, you know, her commitment, she's like, thus illustrating her commitment to the cause. And that is what, it's a tick in Liam's corner about that. What I was thinking was, I think maybe she has not told her mom about what happened in the Marines also. Maybe she thinks, oh, this is part of my backstory, you know, but meanwhile, it's a very real thing that she did to remember, you know, or it could be both. She specifically chose that mark to remember, but also to fool other people. Like, this is what happened to my face out in the wild, you know, so maybe it's both, but I'll give you a very simple explanation why I think it's not a lie. Okay. One, she tells nobody about this. Nobody, not Huck, not Kublek. It's not mentioned at all. Okay. Two, why lie to the audience? Why? I mean,
yeah,
you could say, oh, she's told herself this lie so many times, but why is it so specific? You know, why down to like when she finds the Marine that she's starting to feel these feelings? Because again, I have to remind you of the sequence because we're getting the 48 hours before, like we're getting that now, that conversation with Kublek now. And then we go back into the past again, where after that meeting with Kublek, she sees the USMC pin, US Marine Corps pin, and then she starts having these feelings. So it makes no sense that this would be a lie. Like, why would she be going through these feelings?
If they were going to make that flashback a lie, I think we would have found out in the same episode.
Yeah, or we would have picked it apart.
Or it would have been it would have been clear that she was convincing herself of this false backstory. Like, you know, like you said, maybe she created the story and she's just repeated it so many times that now she's believing it. And that could be true. But I think if that were the case, one, we'd have a reason why, right? And I think by now, well, I don't know. These writers always keep us guessing. I'd like to think by now we would know that it wasn't true.
Yeah, but also
before the end of the season.
Also, you have to remember, she's not told anybody about this. And so we're the only people who know. Why? Maybe, and this is where my punchline comes in. Maybe we need to know so we can judge accordingly. Because at the end of the day, Hope this whole time, this is something we said, I think in the last episode, covering The Walking Dead World Beyond, was that Hope is doing all this as a replacement for her brothers in arms that she had to waste. Okay? We talked about Elton needing a win, you know, following the win so she can have a win to kind of make up for what Amelia did, which is hurt somebody and kill somebody, right? And scare a little girl at the same time and traumatize a little girl. So he needs to save Percy. It's just like that, or just like Ed trying to make somebody feel safe in spite of the fact they lost his family a long time ago. He just needs a win. The same thing is going on with Huck, but in a different way. She needs to feel like she's a part of an organization, a club, a brothers in arms, again, to kind of repeat the same mistake, to repeat the same experience and have it go the right way this time, right? She doesn't have to be forced to make these decisions. Or maybe she feels in service to this thing because she failed at this other thing, because she was forced to make a hard decision, a big decision, like she says to Hope. Like, you have to make big decisions, go on getting people killed. And I think when she finds out what happens to Campus Colony, something she was not willing to do before, hurt a bunch of innocent people, this is going to really, and again, this is how I know her past experience is real, because that's going to be the very thing that will get her to turn on her mother, period. Because all the things she says, that her mother says to her at the end, she's like, you know, I have to make sure that this was an unmitigated success and, you know, no mistakes has to happen, obviously. And like, what is the thing that makes it so that it's an unmitigated success? Yeah, killing campus colonies. There's nowhere to go back to, you know, which is not the only reason, by the way. I still contend it's exactly what she said to Barca. They were going to be a threat. Basically, they weren't going to do things our way, which is, you know, our way is the only way. Authoritarianism, forced consignments, you know, we are the light of the world, you know, it's this hippy dippy shit at Campus Colony, which we also said was kind of like, it's more collectivist, but, you know, a little tweak, but, you know, no jackboots, you know. But no, my way or the highway. You know, it's we're going to be the light in the world, not you. You know, you threaten us. You, with your freedom of movement and your individual liberty and the ability to choose the kind of path you want to take, not this A and B shit, right? Yeah, so that's how it had to be. And again, multiple reasons. You know, they had to make it so that they could not go back, because even if they tried, there has to be nowhere to go. She gave them the map to make it easier, but still.
Yeah, I guess we can stop holding out hope that Elizabeth didn't bring down the order to kill Campus Colony. I'm pretty sure it came from her.
I feel like Elizabeth is doing the same thing that Huck is doing with Hope. She is squaring the circle. She is trying to find the foothold to tell herself that what they're doing is the right thing. And you see that happen with Hope and Huck. You know, Huck is saying, you got to find the greater good. There was no other choice. There's nothing more we could do. Yeah, I tried my best to keep people alive, you know, but you know, it still had to happen. It had to happen. I don't think she was happy with what she had to do with Tony and Percy, but
no,
you know, but it was about you.
She did it. Is Huck gonna recognize what her mom did and see that she's also making the tough calls? Like you just said. I mean, you compared killing Campus Colony to killing Percy and Tony. So is Huck gonna see that her mom was just doing bad for the greater good? Yeah,
but I think Huck's version of doing bad was forcing to kill her brothers in arms because they were going to kill innocent people.
Right. Weren't Percy and Tony innocent?
Yeah, I guess so, huh? But I guess she can feel like, well, so were her brothers in arms. I think they were just given orders, you know? And so that's the difference between being the weapon, you know, like, okay, it's a numbers game, isn't it?
That's true. Yeah, that's true. The soldiers didn't really do anything wrong. They were just following orders, but she decided they weren't going to complete those orders.
Right. She decided for them, right? Yeah. She decided she was the greater good, you know, which is dangerous, but at the same time, like I'm with her. Well, I mean, I wouldn't have done the same thing. I know I wouldn't have done the same thing. I would have been a follower. We talked about this in the episode of Shadow Puppets. It's like when you're in a position where you are taking orders, you will take those orders. And especially so if you're in a disciplined position where you are trained to be a weapon. It's about go. It's there's only one switch. It goes on and off. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sharon says something here. Showing Huck killing her fellow Marines was preparing us that she will kill her friends if she feels that's for the greater good. I was thinking the other way. I feel like we needed to see that scene. And I like that it was like almost an entire episode filled with her backstory. I feel like it's more of a prep for us to get ready for this conflict, to get ready to hear that Campus Colony, has gone under. Okay, you know what?
Yeah.
She also says, she says she was also going to kill Felix before Hope fired the gun. Now, hold on a second. Right before she was about to make the killing blow, though, Huck does stop. She hesitates.
She said, "I'm sorry."
Yeah, she said, "I'm sorry," and she stops. And then she's about to do it, but it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of hang time there. So,
it's not easy for her, but she will do it. I think Sharon D has a point. She will if it's for the greater good. It's not that it would be easy, but she would.
Oh, she said she hesitated before she killed the last Marine, who was called Drake. But that's the thing, but only in as much as like Drake was her, first of all, her commanding officer, perhaps lover. We don't know.
At least good friend. I mean, brothers in arms.
Which means she gave him a chance, too. Like, I think she gave Drake a chance. But I think it's different, though. I feel like she spent more time with Felix, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I mean, we see her spending more time with Felix, but we have no idea what the history is between her and Drake.
Oh, no, that's what I meant. She spends more time with Felix than she has spent with Drake, I think. But we don't know.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I find it kind of
There's more screen time, but
I feel like, though, also, like, it's something to note is that Felix and Huck have been hanging out for just as long a time as Felix and Will, which is also interesting. So they all have this chance to kind of develop a relationship with them. So I don't know how long that took, though. I wish I knew the span of time.
Well, okay. At the beginning of the season, we know Leo's been gone a few months. So we know Will's also been gone that same amount of time. But we know that Felix met Will and Huck at the same time. So Felix and Huck have at least 3 months more time together than he and Will. At least at the beginning of the season.
That's true.
Not to mention all this travel time that they've done, which we've concluded is at least another 3 months, right? Maybe more?
Well, I was going to say at least a month because the month was mentioned as a passage of time after the BOG, I think it was.
Okay.
Just past the BOG. I remember when we were talking about shadow puppets, it was like just a little over a month. People's hair started to grow out.
Sharon D said she thought Leo was gone for a year.
I don't think so.
I don't think it had been that long.
I think it was just 3 months. Oh, you know what it was? You know what? You're right. Okay, hold on. I know what it is. It had been 3 months. It had been 3 months since they received a message. That was it.
Now, see, I thought Leo said he might be gone for a year. He was saying how long he might be gone.
Well, all I know is that they hadn't received a message in 3 months until Huck sends her message. You get it?
Okay.
So, yes, it could have been a year.
Okay.
Right?
Well, damn it. That just screwed up my whole timeline. Now I'm all over the place.
Which also means, so it's been at least a year, if not more, probably more, that Felix and Huck have had time to be people together, be friends. So yeah, that's a long time. That's a significant amount of time.
All right. So which means that Felix and Will have also been apart for that year.
Right. Which means that Felix and...
They've been apart for longer than they were together.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out also. Is like, when did they get together? How long? Because they met when Huck met. So they've had just the same amount of time to kind of figure out who they want to be, how they want to be, decide they love each other, and then all of a sudden they have to depart. So it's maybe, let's just say 2 years. So Huck infiltrated 2 years, and not just for Hope. We'll say that much.
Right. No, definitely not.
Oh no. Sharon D says, it sounds like John and June. They're apart more than they're together. I think Will and Felix had a better go of it than John and June.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That got me emotional, and I don't even know why. Like, this is the first time we've even seen Will, but when the two of them come back together, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Isn't that weird? That's so freaking weird. We're so easily manipulated.
Well, I think that shows what amazing, actors and writers and, film crew goes into this show. I mean, that they can do that to us so quick.
And that Will's a pretty man. He's
that
pretty man.
That doesn't hurt. That does not hurt.
It's easy on the eyes. And Sharon is saying they sure as hell had a better reunion than John and June. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yup.
Well, so far, I mean, got to see what happened.
John,
Why is he out there in the woods?
Yeah. So you're thinking the same thing I am. Well, what I was suspecting, but I'm not ultimately able to go down that road. Do you think, so say it out loud, do you think partly Will might be a spy of some kind?
I do not.
You don't? Okay.
I don't. No, I think we hear Leo mention that Will's whatever scouting detail was due back a few days prior. I think these scouts, whoever were going out there, were to be executed, and something happened and they escaped. Yeah. And Will and this group of people were supposed to be executed and are now survivors.
Will and Romano and Dwyer. I'm kidding. Like Romano.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whoever, yeah. Well, I guess it would be Romano. Yeah, that's who we went with. You saw the extra scene in between the episodes, right?
Right. Which is kind of what we mentioned. Like the stinger, you mean, right? Between the episodes? Well, and which also, which links up to what Leo says to Lila about the scouting trip, not coming back. Haven't come back for how long was it? 3 days? 3 days.
I think he said a few days. Vague. They like to be vague with timelines. Assholes.
Good for them. Good for them. Because
I know.
Otherwise
I know. They really should.
So
Don't give me a concrete timeline.
So
I'll destroy it.
You literally see Will trying to escape the. I think I think happened was somebody loose lips sink ships, and like Will had overheard somebody say in the detail, "Oh yeah, we fragged the shit out of Campus Colony," and that's how he knew what happened. And then, of course, you have to keep in mind that in the span of time, this is like a month or so later, because obviously this is all happening really quickly. And we find out the Campus Colony is destroyed a month later, crossing the river, and then all of a sudden somebody rips a fart about Campus Colony going under, and then Will's like, "Oh fuck that, I'm out." And so that's what happens. And then you see at the end, Will is obviously with whomever it is, and this is, I hope you caught this, because before Hope, Huck depart from Felix and Iris, Huck has a thing with Felix, a little conversation about, you're still aces, blah blah blah, that whole thing, but in this world, you got to do good you got to do bad to do good. Just before that, she says this specifically, and I write this very loudly in quotes. She says something that's almost like a throwaway. 5 miles north, you'll find safety. So, so Huck knows about whatever this resistance is, or whatever this thing is.
Is that what you took from that? That's not what I took from that.
Or what did you think?
I mean, if I'm being honest, I didn't trust her in that moment. I thought it would be a trap, If she's saying go that way, I'd go the opposite. But she is also looking out for them and practically begs Elizabeth to leave them alone. So I don't know. I mean, it could just be she also knew about that house that they stayed in with the medical supplies that she lied about. She knew about that place too. So it could just be another abandoned.
Did she though?
Something or other that she's directing. Well, yeah, she took that when she purposely crashed the truck. She led them to the house that they stayed at.
But you think that was on purpose? Like I obviously know that she crashed the thing on purpose, but you think she actually meant to go to that specific house? I don't think so. But
maybe it was just something that she saw while they were driving. Then because she knew right where to go. I just assumed it was something she knew about ahead of time. But maybe she saw it driving past.
I wonder. So okay, Sharon D says I like that idea though. Maybe she's a fifth column leader, like Huck. Basically, Huck is a fifth column leader. That would be something. Annette said in an interview that she and Nico did most of their own stunts. That's right. In that fight scene, and the house was actually on fire. Yeah, because I know that the series now, like the TWD universe, really likes practical effects now. Ever since they tried to do a lot more CG in seasons 8 and 7.
No, practical is always better.
Yeah, even though it's harder and not safe.
It is, but so worth it. So worth it.
So I want to go back to that piece though, like because she mentions this, and it's almost like a throwaway. This 5 miles north, you'll find safety. Like, how do you know that? And with whom? How? With what? Because they do go 5 miles north on foot. They just walk it, no problem. And what do they find? Will these people? Who are these people? Right? How does she know about them? See, why would she know about them? There's no
way she could. There's no way she could know about them. That happened like a few days ago, because Leo says they were supposed to be back a few days ago. So
no, I don't think she knows about Will, but I think she knows about an element of some kind out there.
Oh,
do you know what I mean? That's what I mean. Because behind Will is a bunch of people, and I'll go into it in a second, because I saw a couple of bearded fellas, and one of them, to me, and I know I'm wrong, Okay, I'm just saying this. I'm saying this out loud, everybody. I know I'm wrong, but one of them to me kind of looked like Rick Grimes.
I paused and stared at my screen for probably 30 minutes.
Right.
And at one point, they all looked like Rick. And then the very next moment, none of them looked like Rick. And then all of them were Rick again. So yeah, I think it was on purpose though.
I think so.
I mean,
too.
they gave us that trick, and they're like, we want people staring at their screens till their eyeballs pop out.
Right. Otherwise, why bother? Like this is like that.
Yeah.
It's like when they teased Michonne in the end of season 2, was it? I think it was. It wasn't really the same actors.
Oh yeah. Her introduction. Mm-hmm.
Right. It was just her in the shadows as a kind of a silhouette, and then like then they finally hired the actress who became.
Cast. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this might have been a similar situation where it's just like it's a stand-in for Rick Grimes. You know what I'm saying? It's like a stand-in for him. Yeah. It's really him though. Yeah. No, I don't know.
I did on my second watch though. I did try to pay attention to like photos in the background or pictures on a table or like anything, any glimpse of Rick Grimes in the background of anything, just to justify the IMDb page.
Yeah. or like Hal Cumston's or Nico Tortorella's comments. When I knew it was a troll, but at the same time, it's like now it's like in your head because it does kind of look like Rick Grimes. And I was looking for Michonne, and I didn't find any black ladies in the background. So that's that. Not happening.
It was quite foggy, but yeah, it was hard to see on purpose.
Yeah, yeah. But not to get ahead of ourselves, going back, Huck knows that there's a general idea of something out there. So what does that mean? And who is with whom? And maybe this whole greater good thing is a means to get Hope over to the CR. But maybe Huck isn't necessarily working for the CR. So how would she know that safety for them would be out there? Why would she want them to find safety? Why would she even suggest it to find these people?
Yeah.
It's something to kind of hold on to, put it in your head, and just keep
Double
it there.
agent.
Because she knows these people are out there. She knows they're out there. She doesn't know about Will. She knows these people are out there.
So when she says 5 miles north, and you said that was the direction they headed, how are we sure of that? Just because I must have missed something.
Because they went on foot.
But they could have went in any direction.
Well, they went where they I'm guessing they went where Huck told them to go. I have to assume.
All right. I just make sure I didn't miss something.
We now interrupt your regularly scheduled podcast for an important post-production note. All this time we've been discussing the fact that the civilians that Huck saved in the past, when the sky fell, or when the fall of civilization, we assumed that these civilians were remitted to the Civic Republic and they became citizens of the Republic. But what if the very people that she sends Iris and Felix to are those very civilians? What if that easily explains why she's able to send them to safety? Now, the reason why this is because Huck was stationed in New York at the time of the fall. She was stationed in Middletown, New York. Why we know this is because of Garnett Medical Center. There's only one Garnett Medical Center in the entire country, and it's in New York. This easily ties things together to why she's able to tell them where to go, which also means that Elizabeth does not know about these people. Had she known about these people, it would be one less group for Huck to fall back on. You know, the unmitigated success of capturing Hope, that sort of thing. What this also tells us is that Huck's story is very real. Her time in the U.S. Marine Corps is very real. So, onward with the podcast.
I think you mean Iris, Sharon D. Maybe their real goal is to get Hope to the forest people, she says. I think you mean Iris.
No, I think she means Hope, because Hope's the genius, and so maybe Hope can help the forest people. But nobody knows that Hope and Iris are a team. They're a duo.
Well, this was the big thing, was as Hope and Iris are departing, one of the things they retread was that scene where they're saying goodbye, and it makes it apparent, like in the beginning of the episode, Leo lays out why Hope is so special. From the moment she was born, they were protecting each other, and then Leo saw himself that Hope was extraordinary, even though she didn't act like it, you know? But all he saw was Hope's genius and not Iris making her better, and which is what we see near the end as they retread over the scene of them saying goodbye to each other, Grin Girl and all that. And one of the things what Iris inserted, or Hope inserted in the retread of Leo's memories was that where she's taking apart the computer computer and blah, blah, blah. Iris comes in there, child Iris comes in there and shows her what parts to finish off with, leaves the room, and then Hope is in there looking up at Dad's like, look, I did it, Daddy. It's like, but what they don't know is that you're the brave one. You're the one who's taking the risks. And I wrote this down. Like I wrote like what makes them so special, but what makes them special together is that Iris is the one who takes more risks. Hope is the one who is more tactile, more practical, she's more grounded. She seems to read people better and acts accordingly. Iris will move bravely, without, sometimes without thinking, but then, trusting her instincts. Hope has good, Iris has good instincts, but so does Hope, in terms of like knowing when to stay away from danger or not pursuing, calling people out on their bullshit. And then Iris is the one who believes in people, like in spite of the danger. So they do complement each other more than just intelligence. And so by the end of it, you're seeing Will, Iris, and Felix walking away, and you really get a sense of, Iris is like this new resistance leader type person, and Hope is this kind of like intelligent, gonna figure out the problems of the world type person. This like Iris is like this guerrilla leader now, and like how weird is that? But it's also kind of cool.
That would be really weird. I mean, wouldn't you think Will or Felix would fall into that role?
Yeah, I don't.
Not a child.
I'm just seeing Felix not embracing ambition. Will, I don't know about Will. We don't know anything about Will, to be honest. Like, he just seems very sweet, makes good decisions so far, maybe. I don't know.
He's very smart. He has a few degrees. He's very smart.
He's alive. He's alive. Yeah. That's already a tick in his corner.
That's always a good thing.
So Sharon is saying they foreshadowed the teamwork when they're having dinner in the flashback with Leo and Felix, and they talk about dinner in the Carricks. Yeah. Also them quickly booking it. Yeah, would you check on Dessert Girls? Which I actually also want to go back to Silas for just a second. If we're talking about flashbacks, because one of the things that ends up happening in this episode is that the CRM kind of pulls up on Silas's place. Percy and Elton book it, and the way they're able to throw it off is because Percy's leaving a blood trail, and then Silas feels like he has to cut his hand to say that this is the source of the blood because they don't want him to continue following after Percy. I hope you understood that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
One of the cool things that you figure out by the end of it, and the reason why Silas feels like he needs to stay behind, is first of all to save Percy and Elton so that they can save other people. And what I liked about that was one of the things that fake Percy in Elton's head says, you can leave me behind so that you can go on to help other people. But what I liked about Silas's thing was he goes through his own set of flashbacks. And one of his flashbacks is, or one of the things he says after the flashbacks is, I'm going to sacrifice myself so that you can help others, Elton and Percy. And I like that, like sacrificing yourself so that you can help others. Percy's trying to convince Elton to leave him behind so that he can help others. Like selfish versus selfless. I like the dichotomy in that. But also what I liked really a lot about Silas knowing that he's not a killer. And then also in this moment, he's reframing every act that he's had. Because remember, Silas is afraid of killing walkers or empties, let alone people. Yeah. Right? And so now, knowing that he's not the killer, he was at peace with knowing originally. He's in this moment where he's reframing every little thing that he's done or he's allowed himself to do that he feels remorseful about. Not all of it, but most of it. And from putting down that walker right in front of Iris, maybe he scared her, maybe, and then holding up the tires. Oh, he's got this brute strength. Oh, he can crush me with a single glance. And so like he sees it in a different light. He's like, oh, I really am the hero, and so then he becomes that hero. He's not scary. He just happens to be strong. I mean, like, I can't blame him.
It's a gentle giant.
Yeah, I don't know about gentle, but
but he'll learn. Gentle till he needs not to be.
Before he leaves, Silas says, "Protect Iris. Period. But no matter what Huck did, don't be the monster." I'm looking at you, Percy. I'm looking at you, Percy. That's right. And I like that. I like that. Now we have this. Now this character's a part of it now. So I like that because that officially inducts Percy into this group where now he has to wrestle with like. And I don't know how you square that either. Like, how do you get Percy? Because here's the thing. Essentially, he's saying to Percy, "Be the hero that you said you wanted to be." be to Iris. You really want to be that hero? That's what it's going to take. Like, I don't blame, like, you and me. I wouldn't blame Percy for going after Huck, right?
No, I wouldn't blame him. But
at the same time, it's Huck. So like now we're like, how do we?
Well,
feel about
I haven't liked Percy from the beginning, and he served his purpose. So he can go ahead and die of something in the forest somewhere, and we don't even have to worry about the Huck factor because Percy's gone. He served his purpose. We're done.
He served his Percy. He's done. Wow. Yep. That's interesting. I don't know how to feel about that. I feel mixed feelings.
Look, Percy is going to get in the way of Iris and Silas, and I just can't have it.
Is he though? Do you think?
Yes, I do.
I don't. Even if he did, I just don't think Silas has the means to like meet up with Iris anytime soon. Like he's with the CR. This is another question that I have, by the way. It's like usually the CR does not take hostages and prisoners. So what the fuck? That's interesting. Like, do they draw?
That is interesting.
Do they draw a limit at kids? But they didn't draw a limit at kids at Campus Colony, right?
No, because they weren't the only kids there.
Right. So
yeah, because Elizabeth does say we have one of them.
Right.
Not we took care of one, or we don't have to worry about one anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, Charity's making a good point there.
Okay, so she's saying, first of all, she says, how do you forgive the person that murdered your brother and mother? I'm looking at you, Alicia. And yet, Charlie.
See, I'm not there yet, so
it's been a couple years.
Yep, it has.
Okay, so now, here we go.
Oh,
so Charity's saying to square that circle about Silas, they can use them as leverage to make Hope cooperate.
Well, Elizabeth says, right when they show up, she says something along the lines of, like, I can see that we still have some work to do with her, about meaning Hope, right? She's not quite there. Even Huck, during her 48-hour whatever.
Oh, initially, right?
Says she's not ready for integration yet. And then just as they're about to get on the helicopter, Elizabeth makes a point to say, we still have a little bit of work to do with her. So that could be some foreshadowing to why she's holding on to Silas.
True. But I feel like Huck does a good job of telling her she's on board. She's ready. She's been tested.
But if she's not, they've got something waiting in the wings to make her comply.
I'm good with that. But you know what? I feel like the only reason why they're holding on to Silas, the only reason, is to get to the others. Maybe use him to call out for help, get Iris and Felix. Because, one thing that we need to make clear from now is that we know, we said this already, but we're going to say it again. When Lila's making her fake speech to Leo, when we were so afraid that Leo was just another Dr. Abbott, which really scared the pants off of us. And she never does have that moment with him. But as a result, we find out that she was one who leaked about Hope, and Hope is going to be reunited with him in the next couple hours. And it was basically all Lila's fault. All of, well, not all of this, but most of it. One of the big questions was, would they have gone after Campus Connie, and would they have slaughtered it all the same? And what I said was yes, 100%. They would have gone after Campus Colony anyway. They got what they wanted initially out of it. I think in a way, the only thing that Lila ended up doing as a result of that was just, okay, we saved one more potential person. And I mean one more. They were not going to save Iris. That's all they wanted was Hope. Simply because Leo had been mentioning, I wish Hope was here. She was extraordinary. She's exceptional, right? Is that what he says? Exceptional? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's notable because Iris would not have been saved. And they still don't want Iris.
That whole bit about Hope, and it comes up a few times during the episode, but I found it a little confusing that Hope doesn't realize how smart she is. I mean, is that believable?
I feel like, and this really goes back to our initial conversation, right when we started, you're dealing with somebody who thinks that they'll never be great. Never. So they act accordingly. They act
being
out.
Being a genius doesn't necessarily mean great.
Well, I mean,
you could be an evil genius.
Yeah. Well, I think she even relegates it to starting shit up. Like, if I'm going to find out how to fuck shit up, that's what I'm going to find out. But then you don't really relegate this to being genius. You know what I mean? You don't. It's like,
I'm sure she's got her own brewery.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she read a book. Doesn't everybody read books and figure this shit out and somehow make it taste delicious?
Okay. All right. That got me.
Every one of us does this thing where we're always putting ourselves down, trying to make it seem like what we did wasn't great. And most of the time it's true. But sometimes it's not true. And sometimes we're just
No, I
putting
see what
ourselves
you're
down,
saying.
you know? But like
Yeah.
her especially.
You're absolutely right.
Her especially.
You're absolutely right. Some people who find, doing this is really simple for them might be really difficult for somebody else. But the person who it's easy for doesn't think, gosh, I'm exceptional. They're like, really? You don't get it?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense that other people don't understand it, I guess.
You're talking about computers, right?
That makes sense. Shut up.
I see it in your eyes.
Actually, I was talking about my artwork because people will say, I don't know how you do that. And I'm like, I don't know how not to, right? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
It's like music or another language. It's a language that only I speak or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I get it now. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I couldn't wrap my head around that. So I'm glad we worked it out.
It's the two things. Yeah. I mean, like, one helps her not see the other at all, for sure.
Sure.
And so Sharon D also says she hates herself so much for killing Elton's mom that she can't believe anything good about herself. And then going back to Silas, they can experiment on Silas and make him some kind of CRM giant super soldier. Like, okay, they could just make him a super soldier. He's already giant. So
that was kind of my thought when we were talking about Silas just a moment ago. Why wouldn't they look at this kid as an asset? I mean, he's a tank, right? Like, train him.
Yeah, maybe.
Get him to become a soldier.
Huck is already, setting him up for Percy and Tony's death. And again, not taking Hope, never being a part of the equation at all from start to finish. It is just so suspect. Like, you would really have to work so hard to convince Hope. And maybe this didn't factor into Leo's equation. Of course it didn't, because it's not his idea. But it's like they're playing broken telephone. Leo's telling Lila that how smart Hope is, and that's all she's getting. And maybe that's all Leo knows. And then broken telephone to Kublai, broken telephone to Huck. And, at the same time, they're not thinking about how would you get Hope to come on your side without Iris? How? They're inseparable. Like, if they knew anything about Leo, like if Lila had taken all those conversations into account. And yet, that's how the CRM works. It's like, first of all, the less people that know about us, the better. So maybe that was the whole reason. Like, if you see us, we're already dead, that whole thing. Which again, this is why I go back to Silas. It's like, there's got to be a specific reason that we already know about, which could be finding the rest to kill them, then they kill Silas. Wait, I want to read the second comment about, she said, they're doing genetic research. Maybe it's crossing walkers with soldiers to create regenerating soldiers. Oh my God, regenerating Silas. That would be awesome, actually. And then he escapes. Ooh.
Oh gosh. So Sharon and I both agreed that Amelia's bead is 100% Jupiter.
Okay.
Did you see the red dot?
I saw a little bit more detail this time around, by the way. Yes.
Yeah. When Elton's holding it in his hand,
which is
down at the bottom.
That's a lake, right? That's something like that.
When he's holding Amelia's bead, like, I think it's just before he's thinking about leaving Percy behind.
Right.
And right at the bottom, there's a red dot. There's the storm, Jupiter's red storm or whatever. Yeah. It's on the bead. I just thought it was like similar to Jupiter. Like, it looks exactly like Jupiter.
Yeah. Well, we were saying that the other beads looked like planets.
Yeah. I just thought it was similar. Like, but when I got a good look at it this time, it was like, oh yeah, that's Jupiter.
Yeah. Which is like the god of gods, Zeus. Yep.
That's right, Zeus.
The planet of all planets, the giant. That's what Elton is, though. Elton's a giant, even though he's tiny. Well, not anymore.
Oh, I had one more example of why Hope and Iris are incomplete without each other, why they're such a good team. Iris actually gives Hope the key to crack the CRM notebook pad. Iris makes the comment about reading Hope like a map, and that sets off the light bulb, and Hope then decodes the book.
Sharon saying, yes! Exactly.
Yeah.
I wish I had a map that I could read you. Because she was being shady, too. But yeah.
Well, she was talking about leaving Felix behind. Yeah, that's some crazy talk.
It's cuckoo bananas. You're the one who told him where we were initially.
Right?
But then I love how, like, each in his own way, like, Felix finds a way. Because again, one of the things that Felix is forced to confront is trusting in others to get things done, to be okay.
Oh, relinquishing control?
Relinquishing control, yes.
We see that's a big problem for him.
Man, he's doing it all at once, and it's hard, but he's doing it. And he says it to Iris. He says, you know, you're okay. You can leave me behind.
I thought that was kind of funny, right? The talk that Felix and Iris are having, and he's explaining, you're going to be fine. You can go on without me. You've grown so much. You can handle yourself. And all the while he's saying this to Iris, I'm thinking back to that first scene where they have the walkers all around them. And what are Hope and Iris doing? Help, help, help. So who can take care of themselves?
But you know, it is weird because and I want to take a step backwards from that because I want to come back to that scene. But like taking a step back, it is wild what Felix says to Iris initially. It was like, you learned how to fight in all of 6 weeks, where Hope has been training for the last 2 years that Huck has been around to go to Omaha eventually, which she would have told her sister if she'd gone. Never would have left without telling her at least, which they did talk about. Like she did sort of mention in the first episode. But at the end of the day, which gets her thinking, why are you telling me this, Huck? She did tell me about this, but she never would have left without me. This was the initial her thinking, this is fucking weird. Why are you saying this to me?
Right.
You know that we talk about everything.
Her spidey senses were tingling at that moment.
Yeah. And you know what really fucked me up too? Like really made me mad, which is probably what made Felix very mad. First of all, Huck gaslighting everybody once they're found out. So at a certain point, Huck, let me just give everybody the background. Huck and Hope leave in the middle of the night because Hope is like, yeah, let's like leave them behind because they're like, Felix is injured and Iris is never going to leave Felix. So, but this is obviously her way of drawing Huck out, like pretending she's on her side. And then
also figuring out if she's
gonna
is the
take
asset
the bait.
like she thinks she is. Yeah. Man, she's smart.
Yeah, and Felix does sort of the same thing when they finally catch up to her. She says something to the effect of like, you gotta let other people do things for you, Felix. You gotta loosen the control, which brings you back. Let's now leave that there. Takes you back to the initial flashback when we first meet Will. And what is Will trying to do for Huck? A psych eval, right? But who's doing the psych eval?
Felix at first.
No.
Or the real psych eval.
The real psych eval.
Oh, the real one. Yeah.
Huck. Because he sees this interaction with them and she's like, okay, I see. Okay, I can take that 2 years later when I'm fucking you up in this house. And
mopping up what you're spilling. Exactly.
And so, yeah, and that's what pisses him the fuck off. He's like, and then he puts on the super Felix voice 3. Don't you dare fucking move. Don't you dare Super Felix 3 voice move. I know it was notable because the fake Felix voice is awful, but like Super Felix voice 3, it's not bad actually. It's kind of it tickled my balls a little bit, I'll tell you that.
Warmed your seat a little?
Put a little hair on my chest. It was great. It grew hair on my chest. It made hair blossom. Hearing Super Felix voice 3.
Nico's masculinity grew hair on your chest.
Don't you dare fucking move, Huck. Don't you dare, motherfucker. You're like okay.
That's awesome.
All right. Okay.
I love that he gives her the keys and then takes her gun too. That was a smooth move. That was very smooth.
It's like disco. It was like
right? Like it was like a magic trick, right? Like, here you go. Pay attention over here while I misdirect and grab this over here.
Flam flam. Let's go back to that scene because you talked about their fighting skills and but again, to reiterate, it is kind of fascinating, and maybe this is just the way the show is. They're just going to magically make Iris be able to fight in 6 weeks, where I hope is taking particularly longer for some reason, but she needed it more for the discipline, right? Anyway, we go back to when they were first going to go to the first haunted house where Huck crashes the car, gets at a flat tire, they go to his house. One of the things I find interesting about that scene where the barbed wire empties are closing in on them is it looked a lot like a trap, and I thought it might have been on purpose because all of a sudden they're surrounded by these barbed wire walkers. And like
that was weird.
Yeah, and now it wasn't them. Like I thought for a second, like on my second watch, I'm like, this is very strange. This looks almost like a snare. Do you know what I mean? They walk into a C, like a little letter C. They walk into a C, and all of a sudden the C closes in on them and turns into a circle.
Oh yeah.
And you can even see the moment where Huck slashes Felix's back leg too. But I love that sound effects when she does the backtrack, like ka-ching sound effect.
Oh,
I thought that was very, very like video game like almost.
Oh yeah, with the sound effects. The first time I watched it, I was like yelling at Huck, right? I'm like, why are you just standing there? Why are you just standing there? Obviously later we find out why. And then on the second time I watched it, I paid closer attention, and that was when I saw her take the swing. Cause the first time I'm like, what are you swinging at? There's nothing.
This is bad acting. Ugh. And more bad acting from Huck. God damn, from Annette Andrew. Meanwhile,
no.
Back at the ranch.
Even when it looks like they're not doing anything, it's for a reason, though.
Yeah, I think Iris and Hope could have figured it out. But notice that Hope was having more of a problem than Iris, I believe, right? Is that right? It feels like it.
Well, here's what I saw. What I saw was both of these girls in the exact same position as far as risk and danger. They were both equally at risk. And so I'm watching this and I see that Huck is about to help, right? And I went, who is she going to save first? Who is she going to save first? Like, that was going to be my figure out, like, who is the asset? Whoever she rescues first is going to be the asset. And then she takes both of them down with one bullet. And I'm like, well, screw me then.
Yeah. Isn't that clever?
There goes that theory. Yes, it was. I was ready for it. And then they denied me this information.
You know what's
I loved it though.
You know what's really super interesting though? Like, we saw Huck with her silencer right from the beginning of Truth or Dare. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we saw her like tightening the silencer right from the beginning of that episode, and then she sees the Marine. Now, where on this God's green earth would you find a silencer? They're not readily available. They're not.
Did she not have? She didn't have one right from Campus Colony. Honestly, I don't remember the first time I saw the silencer. I can't remember.
I think that was the first time I saw it. I don't think she had it.
Okay.
Before then, which is interesting because silencer denotes assassin or somebody who works in covert ops or some sort of thing like that. You would not, in practical senses, use one.
Well, wouldn't you though? With walkers, or with empties wandering around, wouldn't you want a silencer?
I think they're illegal in some states, but why don't guns all have silencers? Silencers affect the gun performance, which is not desirable. Okay, so yeah, that's the big minus, is that it does. Okay, in Quora, this is a Quora, so I don't fight with Quora. They muffle the sounds some, and they add considerably to the size. The other reason for silencers is stealthy weapons like snipers might use them for assassins. For that, silencers are highly regulated by the Bureau of Tobacco and Firearms. So they are regulated. There are stiff license fees and heavy paperwork required to own and use one, which is not true for owning and using most guns. Therefore, most gun owners don't want one because regulations.
Why would you need it?
Exactly. Yeah. What's this for? Huh? What?
The apocalypse.
Yeah, but then soldiers, but we didn't know she was a soldier initially. And she definitely wasn't one by the time Campus Colony went around. She's not really a soldier. Security detail. I'm mentioning Sharon D says it's the apocalypse. I'm sure they can supply soldiers with silencers. So Sharon D says they're for hunting. Don't want to spoil the herd. But it would affect the performance as well. So, and then the bother of having to register it and paperwork and all that. Why bother? Also, why put your name on a registry, which is a lot of what gun owners don't want. They don't want to be put on a registry with it where you're on a list somewhere. So with the ATF. So that makes sense to me. But again, not readily available. It's not going to be, and it's definitely not going to be out in the wild. That's the thing.
Like just to find a silencer laying on the ground somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, no,
you wouldn't.
No. But I mean, if that is the first time we see the silencer, why wouldn't Felix ask about it? Just like he asked about the watch.
That's a good point
He noticed
too.
the watch.
I mean, it's Huck though. Like, why would you even think to? I don't know. I guess why would you question her? And it's
I want to go back and had it in the first episode.
I kind of do too.
I don't remember.
But I'm going to assume that we haven't, and we'll just move on from there.
That's a good point too. It is detachable. Sharon D says she may have had it hidden in her pack for the most part. That's true too. She could have had it with her, and we just didn't see it until then.
So what makes now?
That is true.
What makes now so important, right? I mean, again,
she had to,
Truth or Dare
to shoot Tony.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the whole point. That's my whole point. Is that Truth or Dare? By the end of Truth or Dare, silencer.
Yeah, do you?
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. Close range. So it's a little easier. You're not going to miss.
Does this make you go back and be like, how didn't I see this sooner?
But I mentioned this to illustrate that point, is that this show wants you to know that it was her. The show wants you to know in retrospect, I killed the shit out of those people. And I covered it up by bashing dead Tony in the face. and pinning in on Silas. Again, the heavy cost that Huck has to pay for the greater good, which she was not wanting to pay up front with the U.S. Marine Corps.
I'm definitely still Team Huck as well, Sharon D. I think she's a good guy. I do. I think she's a good guy. Like she has said over and over again, sometimes you got to do bad to do good. But I think at her core, she is good. She's a good guy.
Also, and I think it does satisfy a certain contingent of watchers who are in that camp, which is like, oh, sometimes we watch The Walking Dead to see that people do have to do bad things for good causes. So it satisfies that bunch of people. It's like, oh, yeah, that is pretty complicated,
Yeah. Why am I okay with Huck's actions, but I can't stand Strand?
Yeah. And so Sharon D says she's the anti-Strand.
Yeah.
The anti-Strand.
Gotta do bad to do good. I'm perfectly fine with that. I guess
she is the Strand.
Yeah. Well, Huck is also honest about it, I guess. That's why I like her. She's honest about it. She says sometimes you got to do bad to do good. Strand is just he's so devious and he's so manipulative and
it's just different.
Slimy. He's just slimy. You know what I think it is? I think I figured it out. It's just that Strand is just too good looking and it's hard to trust a man that's that good looking. I think it really is because he does fess up to it to John and everybody's like, there was no other choice. If she didn't, he plays the chess game. He's like, there was no other choice. If you guys would have run away, they would have caught up to both of you. Both of you would be dead. So I had to choose the path of least resistance. And Janice is no family. She has nobody else to live for. This is it. She is willingly saying, I'm going to sacrifice myself so that you guys can live. And that's it. Charity, let's just close it off with never trust skinny jeans. That's right. That's what Charity says. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's it. Hey, there's two things I want to bring up before, because I know I'm going to forget. And I know it's the stupidest thing, but I know that nobody else has it. Okay. Flashback, Felix meets Will for the first time. Huck is there. They're going to do the psych eval, the intake, whatever it is. Two things that happen. Dr. Bavilar is mentioned again. I tried to pop his name Bavilar into an anagram thing, and I couldn't find anything significant. Take apart Bavilar and switch it around somehow. But now I don't trust this Dr. Bavilar because he tells Will to come in and take over. And I'm like, I don't trust Will either. I don't trust any of these people. But I don't trust this. I don't know if I like or dislike Dr. Bavilar because the fact that his name after so many episodes, it's got to mean something, doesn't it? If he comes up again, like all the way at the end of season 2, Dr. Bavilar, what are you doing? Oh, you're the spy. When did we hear about Dr. Bavilar before this episode?
The pilot when Huck and Felix are spray painting the people blue. The empties blue.
Tracking the migration. That's right.
And the second episode when Elton is doing the same thing with the orange spray paint.
Okay. All right. I was thinking maybe Dr. Bavilar was the third gentleman, the other gentleman we saw in the picture with Lila, Abbott, and Leo. That
would be something. That would be really cool. But it also would make sense, by the way, if that other doctor was from Omaha. But it could be Dr. Bavilar. Yeah. Because you have 4 different. Right, you have Campus Colony, Omaha, Portland, and CR, right? And Lila's from CR.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I would like it that it was Dr. Bavilar. Yeah, it would be great if it was Dr. Bavilar, because then we'd put a name to the face, right? Anyways, so, okay, there's that. But when Will comes in and Felix stands up and makes way for him and steps over, you see a sign behind Felix. And the sign...
Aw, damn, I missed it.
Yeah, you did see it, but you're like, I don't know. I don't have time for this shit. So the sign says, post wall safety. And here's the thing in full. And I really, really took some time to figure out what this says. Have you registered your travel plans with Campus Colony Security? Stay to your planned route. Note hotspots and report hazard zones. The Campus Colony Travel Planning Department will review current conditions and determine the best travel routes to your destinations. Registration provides arrival confirmation services and a rescue action plan in case of emergency. Respect the dangers. There's a checklist on the right that I cannot make out. But I also wanted to know another thing. Nebraska State University does not exist. It's not a real...
Really?
Yeah, it's not. You'd think it was, but it isn't.
Wow, that's really surprising.
It's not at all. But furthermore, because if it was, their logo would mean something, because their logo is completely made up. the Nebraska State University logo at the top, it mirrors, I feel like they took what they imagined the Nebraska State University. Their emblem is a book with a candle in the middle and two husks of corn or stalks of corn on the sides, which is so funny when you think about it. Oh, it's like knowledge is the candle and the book is open and the thing and the it's a circle and all that. And then, but like, if you look at the banner for NSU, like it's a bunch of circles and there's like this weird transition. And then also I'm saying this for a purpose, because they must have based the campus colony logo. So like now they're not NSU, they're Campus Colony. They must have based the Campus Colony logo after the Civil Defense logo, because it's a circle with two C's and a triangle, just like the Civil Defense one, where it's a C and a D with a circle and a triangle. And I thought that was kind of cool. Like, so, and then later on, when they became the Alliance of the Three, it became three circles in a sort of triangle, right?
Yeah.
There's a method to this weird madness.
I like that.
I love how Sharon's speech to the desk was corn huskers. But how did that fuck up? Anyways, well, corn huskers are Nebraska University, NU. So there's no Nebraska State University. That's all I'm saying.
It's just Nebraska, just NU.
Yeah, NU.
Huck was going to give Hope some Peeps for her birthday next week. Barf.
You don't like Peeps?
Peeps are the garbage of candy.
Let me just say, as a Jew who doesn't celebrate Easter, I happen to like Peeps.
Do you?
Because I don't eat them at all, ever, really.
I don't either.
It wasn't a thing growing up as a kid, is what I'm saying. So as an adult, it's like, give me more.
See, I like candy corn and like the mellow candies. I like those. I'm all about those. Yeah.
Oh my God. We just bought you know what? If it wasn't for the fact, like, I think we ran out of candy corn before Halloween came around, because my wife bought 2 packs, like the pumpkins and the assorted candy corns. We finished all that shit before Halloween. We finished it all before Halloween.
I would too.
And then out of guilt, we didn't buy any more. It's like, we don't deserve it. It's like,
you know what's going to happen.
We finished it in a week. We finished both bags in a week. It's like, no, we didn't.
That's a whole week? That you should be proud. I had it gone the night it came home.
It's like, I feel like it's mostly my fault because all the editing I've been doing. It's like,
it wouldn't even have made it to the cabinet. Just come right with me, little buddy.
I'll treat you real nice. Late night editing sessions. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I portion control. Like I'll like put like a little bit in a dish, and then I'll just that's it, yo. Can't do more than that.
Okay, Huck says something that maybe I read into it too far, and maybe it means absolutely nothing. But Hope is talking to Huck about possibly coming back willingly, or, well, what if I don't want to? What if I still don't want to go back? And Huck says, they'll find you. They always find you. But she says it in such a way that almost made me feel like she had firsthand experience with that, right?
Oh, yeah. But furthermore, she says it in such a weird, cryptic way. And I was going to bring this up too. She says, nothing will happen to you.
Yeah.
That's how she says it.
She does it like that first.
And just so you know, so it's just like, the less struggle you have, first of all, they'll get me right off the bat. Huck is chopping block, done. But then now you got to start thinking about your sister and your brother, Felix. And then you got to think of Silas and Elton, whom, you feel kind of bad about, don't you? So the more you come willingly. And so I feel like as they're about, by the way, this is on the road. She says it's on the road to the truck, finally, right? And Felix, they all have this conversation and blah, blah, blah. They take the truck, they go to meet the helicopter, and they're in the truck just before they're about to meet Elizabeth in the helicopter. And Huck goes to her, do you have any regrets? To Hope. She goes, no, or something along those lines. Hope says it, the 3 things that Huck has been wanting her to say all along. It's all about the greater good. It's all about the big picture. It's all about the future. And Huck looks at her very strangely. She goes, all right. and then they go.
Yeah.
But and I say this on purpose because when you say it about like, okay, she said it in a particular way, like, okay, nothing will happen to you because they need you and they'll find you, but things will happen to us. And so it's like, it almost doesn't matter what Hope says in that moment, all about the big picture, blah, blah, blah. Meaning she hasn't, like, it's almost stupid for Huck to even ask the question. Like, you're going no matter what. You have no choice. Right. But as long as there is a choice, or as long as there's still, because there is always a choice. It is stupid to ask the question, but she still said, like, where are you at? Where are you at mentally? Mm-hmm. And Hope chooses the thing that she is really looking for. Hope is choosing the thing that Huck is really looking. I want you to want this. There's no point if you don't want this. And I feel like it doesn't matter. And I feel like she says it. And I feel like she's almost lying about it in a weird way. But the fact that like Huck is kind of like not sure is also kind of interesting because, and this is my bigger point, Hope is a mirror for Huck in a weird way.
Sure.
In a weird way, Huck maybe doesn't believe also maybe believes that there's no choice, but maybe has to believe it's for the greater good. It's kind of like, let me put it in terms within the show that they've said before. Leo has to be all right. Mm-hmm. Will has to be all right. Or else what did I just send them off to do? Otherwise I'd feel guilty.
Huck's stuck there too. This has to be for the greater good.
Right.
Has to be.
Otherwise, what was all the killing for? Right?
Yep. Otherwise, everything I've done has no meaning, and worse than that, it's a terrible meaning. You know? Right. I guess what I heard. I guess what I heard when Huck said that to Hope was that either one, she had tried to run before and they found her, or two, she was sent to go find someone who had run. I got the feeling that Huck had personal experience with
the incident.
Runners.
The incident.
Right. It could be the incident that Elizabeth's referring to.
They always find you. That's what Charity just said.
Right. Yeah.
I like that. She brought that.
Always find. The way she said that made me feel like she knew personally that they would come and find you.
Oh my God. And what a weird mirror, because like Leo always find Hope and always know what she did. Same thing with Elizabeth. Maybe there was the same thing that was going on. And what's weird is that like Huck must have got a ton of passes, being the daughter of Elizabeth Kublik, right? And taking advantage of that and being smarter than the average bear. But at the same time, mothers are complicated too. Yes, mothers have a funny way of showing how they love you, whatever it is. Now, Sharon D says, I love the way Huck talked Hope down the same way she talked Walter down a couple of episodes ago. The super calm, almost monotone voice, I can save you. It was just great. Emil the bounty hunter, lol. Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, Emil was a little bit more charming than Huck, I think.
But I think so too. Yeah.
IMHO. I would want him to chop my head off by the end of it.
Okay, Emil, go ahead.
That little fear boner. It's like that. Oh, hello. It's okay. Go right ahead. It's okay. As long as it's you.
I was going to get really mad at that scene the second time I watched it, where Hope is holding the gun on Huck, only because I'm super nitpicky. And in the scene before that, Hope has on her CRM jacket. And then in this next scene, she has a totally different coat on that's like bright green.
Maybe she has both on.
Yes, she does. Huh? She does have both on. Yes. That's why I didn't get mad the second time, because I paid closer attention and the CRM jacket is underneath this other one. So where she got the other one, who knows? They both got backpacks on, so they're carrying a bunch of stuff. But I was ready to be mad.
Well, just like Elton had a similar colored rain slicker jacket sort of thing to go over his corduroy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
By the way, I wanted to just mention before we go forward is that I'll put her name up in the post production, but she said, so who's ready to cosplay as Silas? And I'll say, I am. I'll play a very old Silas who's made it way past in the future, because I can see me doing that. I can see me wearing the whole ensemble, like where it's like the sweater vest is corduroy, the jacket is corduroy. The pants.
Wait, Elton? You mean Elton, not Silas?
I'm sorry. I meant Elton. Elton. Yes, that's right. My bad.
Yeah. Next time humans are allowed to be around each other again at a Comic-Con, it will just be a sea of corduroy.
Oh my God. I think somebody already has, by the way. I think somebody already has, just before the lockdown and everything, when they knew it was coming. I think I saw somebody already do an Elton cosplay. cosplay because it's easy, right? It's somewhat easy.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to get the right outfit and then curl your hair, right?
So Sharon was saying that scene was just beautifully shot. The scene with Hope and Huck in the forest, and she says, "Who says? I hope he's not freezing to death in his little suit."
Hope does.
Right.
Hope says it. Yeah. Because Iris is laying on the guilt trip about how cold it is outside and trying to Hope thinks she's trying to make her feel guilty for Silas and Elton being out in the world somewhere.
Right.
Freezing in his little suit.
Oh, this was on the way to walking to the house, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, it's so funny because then Iris is warning Hope about not stepping on the whatever it is on the ground. And I think it's the barbed wire.
Stop. Oh my God, you're probably right. They don't really show it. She just says, watch your step or something. And then you see her step over something. But,
right. And you're thinking it's probably dog poop or something.
I was thinking like a limb. I thought it was like a leg or an arm or something.
And yet that's the snare. That's the barbed wire.
You're absolutely right. Oh my God.
This is kind of what I wanted to get to. It doesn't matter in the end. It could be a trap. It could not be. I don't know. It just seems like it is.
Yeah. Sharon saying the walkers that were linked together with the barbed wire made her think of Iris's sketch dreams in the first episode at the very beginning when she dreamed of herself being a walker. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, that whole scene was kind of reminiscent of her dream sequence in the in the beginning.
And you know what's so funny is that Iris is alone in those dreams. She is alone. I don't know. We haven't really examined what her dream actually means. It's okay, without Hope. Yeah, that's how it would pretty much end up. Iris would be so busying herself with the future, and she would have joined all the campus colony deaths too, which is why I was emphasizing how this whole Lila thing and the CRM wanting Hope, Iris never figured into the equation. And how would you imagine Leo would have felt and Hope if they had gone off, and what would become of the Iris is not part of the equation. What, she died tragically with campus colony? How? They got overrun by walkers, whatever. I don't believe a word of that shit. Even Leo, by the end of this episode, he's first of all, the emphasis on, no more lies. And Lila's about to tell him everything, right? I feel like she has a genuine struggle. Either that or she knew she fucked up and now she has to kind of make up for it. And she still doesn't tell him in the end, right? This whole truth. Because let's tell everybody what she says to fake Leo. She says, Leo, and this is making me nervous because she's talking to that glass window again, the one that we previously saw Samuel Abbott. I have to remember now. Samuel Abbott in blue, then the walkers in the telephone call with Kublek and the neck stinger.
You did think that Leo could be in that room? See, I didn't think that because the last time we saw that room, it was empty.
Oh, it was sort of empty. You're talking about the room with all the walkers in it?
Yeah, the room beyond Lila's window was empty the last time we saw it.
No, we heard the walkers. Maybe you didn't hear it, but you hear the walkers as the camera zooms outwards and pans back.
I did hear.
You didn't see
hear walkers.
Right.
Yeah, but I didn't see any.
Right. But you heard them. So there's an assumption. And then also the idea that maybe they did this to all the other doctors. Who knows? Again, your mind is going wild. So when I first saw her talking out in the window, I'm like, ooh. And then because initially you don't know that she's in that room even. You're so close to her face. You don't know.
Right.
The camera kind of swings a certain angle and you're like, okay, she's in that room we're familiar with. Okay, she's talking to the window. Okay, where's Leo? Why is she talking through the glass? And then you see the reflection. He's like, oh my God, Leo's in the dark. And oh my God. And then I don't know, this is me at that moment. I'm like, and then you realize she's just practicing. On the heels of her saying, no more lies. Fine. Fuck you. So this is what she says. Leo, there's something I need to talk to you about. But before I do, I just want to reiterate how much I care about you and about us, our future, and everyone's future. Because that's what this is all about, the future. In 24 hours, you're going to be reunited with Hope. And I write in big, bold letters, not Iris. Iris is never part of the plan.
Right?
She's on her way here. Don't say anything. Just take a moment to process it, okay? All those months ago when you told me about her gifts, months, so that denotes months, because now Sharon D's going to rub it in her face. When he told me about her gifts, about her genius when you haven't even told her? Again, this is why Hope doesn't know. He says she's extraordinary, but he never really told her.
Yeah.
You trusted me, but I told them the CR. I had to. Right now, you're like mad. We need generations of great minds. And like how? But she told them. She told them a long time ago, probably before the Samuel Abbott business too. Like whatever happened to Samuel Abbott, that must have happened recently. Because again, when they're talking about it, it's like that was really weird. That happened like a couple weeks ago, or whatever. He had to go. So I just can't get it out of my mind. It happened so suddenly. A lot of things happened all at once. We need generations of great minds. You were frustrated with her. She was frustrated with herself, but she is safe and she's seen the world now. And because of that, she is ready to bring back the world. It's going to take the brightest minds working together. She is one of those minds. And this is the Elton thing. Every model shows that if we don't make progress in the next 30 years, human life will be gone from the planet. Amelia Ortiz, that's 15 years. This is what I wrote in my notes. Actually, this is bigger than us. So you can hate me and I'll live with that. I'll live with that so that the world can live. Okay, I'll just go ahead and tell him I can't. I just can't. And then
how do you feel about Lila when the fact that she can't say that? Like, how do you feel about Lila?
I feel like she's in over her head. I feel like she made a huge mistake. I mean,
but you think she's good-hearted? I mean, she's a good guy?
I think ultimately, yeah. I mean, I think she's genuinely rattled when Kublik's on the phone. I'll get Leo on board because we do have to remember that other stinger. Because during that stinger, she gets on the phone with Lila Kublik, saying Leo won't be a problem, and then mentioning Will's detail or something like that. There's something about Will. I can't remember exactly what. Do you remember?
She says, Leo Betta won't be a problem, and neither will his security detail. She doesn't mention Will by name, but she just says his security detail won't be a problem either.
And yet, by the end of it, you do sense that she is a little bit rattled. She's a bit unsettled, Lila.
Yeah.
So I feel like she's in over her head. She let them in on something that just caused an avalanche of events. And now it's like the chickens are coming home to roost. Like, how do you justify that? Well, because, I think this is all in prep, by the way, to tell him also that Campus Colony's gone. You know what I mean?
Well, that's providing she even knows. I mean, they could have kept that under wraps, too. But we don't know how or why Will knows what happened. Like you said, he might have just overheard somebody talking about it and then caused an uproar or whatever. But
well, I say all this to say that, so if Lila won't say why she has scatterbrain syndrome, after the scene, Leo says, let me start, he says specifically the Civic Republic is great, but the military is questionable. So we're drawing distinctions. I don't think there is a distinction, but Leo seems to think there is. I'll work with it. I'll go on his side. I'll be like, maybe Leo knows nothing.
He's in it. So maybe he knows more than we do.
Yeah. But we have more things to play with, right? So that's the thing. One of the things he says, and it's flat out, he says, I'm certain we're being lied to, and I have a plan to know for certain. And Lila's just like, Now one of the points, like, these are the things that leads him to believe that something's off. Like, they were supposed to come back days ago. So Sharon is saying Lila is a Huck. She really cares about you. You got to do what's best for the greater good, though. Time is getting close, I think, though. Yeah. Too close for comfort. A day, 24 hours, basically.
Yeah, she said 24 hours, which is weird, right? I mean, how could you possibly time it out that specifically?
And you know what's really weird? Okay, I feel like all of this has led to this moment, obviously, right? And all of this has taken a month or so, let's say, to get to this point. And I feel like when season 2 is going to come out, and I know we just posted a couple articles on what season 2 is going to look like, and it's literally going to be all about the future. I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if the first couple of episodes of the second season of this limited run won't take place during the course of, let's say, within a day, kind of like the all-out war effect, where like all of this shit happens in 2 weeks or 1 week. A lot of stuff is going to happen in 24 hours, unless they do this thing with the time jump. Like, well, they'll go ahead just to go back to cover that 24 hours, but then show you the aftermath first. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now how did we get here? Right. So, and then like the next couple episodes lead you back to that first scene where they show you the aftermath, and that takes place in a short period of time. So now one of the bits of news is that they are open to having a season 3. So It's on the table.
Ooh.
Based on this response.
Okay, so they're not going to kill everyone off at the end of season 2.
like we theorized somehow.
like I thought. Well, what are the options? Either kill everybody or ship them over to Fear.
Well, there's a reason for that, though. They're trying to figure out. And now, one of the things that was mentioned, I think this was a Gimple mention, was that Rick will never show up on the show. He wants to make that clear, Gimple. But the show may be a good gateway to like the movies, like what happens in Tales, what happens in Fear, like what happens. It is a good gateway for what we're to see in the future. So, and there's another bit of news that I have to relay that I relayed. Yes, Sharondy was about to say it, and she was very happy to hear it. Fear the Walking Dead has been renewed for another season. So you're going to get Fear the Walking Dead season 7. And now, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? This has been their best season yet, bar none. Everybody agrees. Like if you look at the not the ratings per se, but like if you look at the reviews comparatively throughout all the seasons, listen, at the time when I was watching seasons 1 through 3 and then seasons 4 through, because you have to set them apart, right? 4 and 5. At the time when I was watching these things, I saw the volatile reviews throughout. Like you could go back and play Monday Morning Quarterback and say, I did like seasons 1 through 3 more than 4 and 5. Oh no, I actually did like 4 and 5 more than 1 through 3. And it's like, you could play that game. But at the time, while we were live watching, the critics' reviews overall, in terms of popularity, the ratings were bad. They were not that great. It wasn't the great white hope that people promised it would be because of the semi-consistent numbers after consolidation and in light of cord cutting. I mean, it's a home run. As long as you're not volatile, okay, you're getting constant advertising dollars. Why not? Why not? And then when you get to season 6, overall, at the time, as we're watching it, critics are going crazy. People are going crazy. That's what you have to look at. Yeah, and Charity's saying, I'm cheering. Yes, and that's the right response. Congratulations, Fear the Walking Dead. Congratulations.
I guess I'm a little bit worried for Hope. Not much, because, as we know now, her and Iris are the dream team, right?
Inseparable, right?
But only Hope is going to CR. So once she gets there, and they're like, here you go, help us solve this problem. And she's like, meh. Like, what's going to happen when she can't do what she needs to do? Because her other half isn't there.
I think, so there's a couple ways this can go down, right? She tells them, hey, I was only good in as much as Iris was there to help me. They'll find Iris, because why not? And then come after her. But then when they do, they'll have a big trap waiting for them or something like that.
Hopefully.
You know what I mean? Or I don't know, like they may pull a bait and switch on us too. It could come out like where, just like with Ginny, where we have to kind of envision a world of like, how do you reconcile what Ginny's trying to do, losing her grip, and then dealing with the end is the beginning of people. It's like, well, at what point do they join forces? At what point do they feel like they're forced to have to cooperate and then create something new together, move forward together? Like, well, is that possible with the CRM, with the CR? That's interesting, because like as we're watching Huck take Hope into custody, let's say, or whatever you want to call it, there is a sense of like, okay, if you can't beat them, join them. You really don't have a choice. So then what do you do? Like, well, okay, now we're forced to have to save the world. So what do you do? I don't understand. So like, it might come down to that. So and first of all, as much as I'm like digging the cut of Iris's jib, like I feel, first of all, when she tells Felix, we're going to kick the CRM's ass, like Felix is like, okay.
Yeah, how do you plan on doing that?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like, we just will. Okay. We just will.
Right. And they will, because, that's what we want to see.
I have no idea. Like,
they'll do something.
Like an extraordinary set of circumstances would have to fall into place for that to be able to happen. I'm not... The thing about this show and all these TW Universe shows is like, I don't know what to expect, because you think, oh, obvious, this is like the Rick effect trying to beat Negan. Like, oh, obviously he'll find a way. No, he didn't find a way. He never did find a way. And so something else is going to have to happen to make them either do something different, or somebody else is going to be the solution to the problem, or something else comes up that completely dismantles it from the inside. Like the whole idea of even Campus Colony having existed, and then maybe the citizens of the CR knowing that the military wing of the CR just genocided like 10,000 people, knowing that might be enough to topple them from the inside. So it could be just that. And then whatever fills in those blanks, to further ensure that their downfall happens. Who knows?
No.
Like, because 200,000 200,000 people versus however many people they have in the military. I mean, they're going to win. They're going to win.
Right.
200,000 people are going to win. Otherwise, what's the freaking point, right? What's the point?
We could talk just for a little bit about how adorable Felix was teaching Iris how to drive stick.
That's a good point.
It was really cute, and I got surprisingly emotional when he says what he does. And he's like, "What? Who
do you think taught me?" Back to like original Felix voice.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't. Like I said, there were a few moments that just got me right in the feels, and it came out of nowhere. Like they weren't even like that moment. I'm like,
like you didn't think it was a big deal, and then all of a sudden, because it's like this port in a storm. Like they're in the middle of the situation where they really have to figure it out, like what to do next, and it's just like this light. Which again, this is like one of those things that we beg for during The Walking Dead. Can we have a lighthearted moment in the middle of this chaos? Maybe a funny moment, even.
Yeah, and I felt it, man. It made me flutter, gave me all the feels. Great job.
You know, the audience was actually they were pro this moment. Also, they really liked it when Hope cracks
the decoded note. Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, I love the way she does it too, because she realizes these are coordinates, but there's also other numbers relating to what digit in the
position. The position of the letter and which one.
So genius. And like it says, RAF embed agent en route to NY with asset +4. All 4 expendable, which gets her to figure out and then she gets whatever Iris.
Then she's still not sure, right? She's still not sure who the asset is, which is why she proposes she and Huck run away. And when Huck agrees, she's like, "Yep, that's how I knew it was me."
Process of elimination. Yep.
Hope told Iris that Huck's mom died when she was little. She asked, "What do you know about her past?" And Hope just sort of rattles through, "Oh, well, she was in the military. Her mom died when she was little. They found her on a raft. I don't know. What does it matter?" Oh,
and this is how we know what Huck lied about when she was first integrating with Campus Colony. That's how she knows the common lie. One of those common lies is that her mom died when they were little. And then when Hope figures it out, she's like, "Oh, moms are complicated too, huh?" Like, okay. Yeah, your mom didn't die when you were little. You lied about that too.
Yeah. You know, I suppose that could also go to Liam was saying that Huck's backstory might be a lie, because Hope included that in her example too. Said she was in the military, her mom died, she was found on a raft. All 3 of those things were lies. Well, I mean, with the exception of her military background.
We're like, well, less lies than fabricated. Like she was found on a raft. That's true.
But it was staged that way.
Right. It staged, fabricated stage. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm still not on board with that. There's just, you know what?
I'm not either. I'm just adding fuel to the fire.
No, but the whole reason why I wanted to draw it out was because I want to believe. I told Liam at the time, I said, I want to believe this theory. I want to so much, but I can't simply on the basis of the fact that it was nobody else knows about this. Only we know about it. What would the point be in lying to us as viewers?
Right.
Because then how do we trust? The whole point of me saying that was like, how do we trust anything the show tells us if we can't even believe the one thing it was trying to tell us? There's no point. It doesn't make sense.
If that is a lie, anything that they show us could be a lie.
Exactly.
You know,
that
would be dangerous.
Yeah, it's like how much do you hate when even the possibility of somebody saying, "Oh, it was all a dream." It was all a dream effect. Yeah. It's like, because then it's like, oh, what was this all for? It doesn't make sense. And I want to echo something you always say. They don't say these things for nothing. They don't do these. They don't include things like this for nothing. And if it was just, and I was almost getting pissed, like really pissed. And I'll tell you, like, it's not about the theory, but it was about even the idea of Percy and Tony being on the show at a certain point, because why bother bringing these 2 people in? Like, on a story sense, it's kind of cool to experience the world in a way that doesn't harm you. Like, you can see the dangers of people without getting the full effect of dangerous people, right? Percy and Tony happen to not be murderers, but they're still dangerous. They'll still leave you without your shit. Right. So, path of least resistance, but you get the message, right? And then they educate them. They give them an education. Like, yeah, they're bad people out here. Okay? Just so you know. So on that level, okay, that's great. But at the same time, there's almost no point in them. They're gone in 2 episodes. I mean, ostensibly until the end when Percy comes back. But like until that point, like, because I was convinced that Percy was gone, I was almost like pissed that like, why introduce us to these 2 people? Why get to know Tony? Why get to know Percy if they're just going to go away? Maybe. Do you need a character to illustrate that? You could have just separated, I don't know, you could have found a way to separate Silas from the rest of the group somehow. Oh, he attacked me, blah, blah, blah. I was drunk. I didn't know what I was doing. Anyway, my whole point being is that, like, why bother? Why bother with this past routine? If not for the fact that it's gonna come into effect. It's gonna have meaning. It's gonna come back around. This is like why I mentioned before, it's like knowing that she could not allow her brothers in arms to kill innocent people is gonna come around when Elizabeth Kublik tells them about the civilians. The campus colony. It's gotta have a reckoning. I don't know how she can live with herself. Everything that she's done up to this point, when she hears that news, she's gonna wrestle with it. She might try to understand it at first. Greater good. But I wasn't willing to do it then, and I killed all my brothers. And I'm not willing to do that now. This is what I was saying at the end of our last episode was like, Huck is definitely going to be the hero. I can't accept the fact that somebody who'd probably be willing to do this again wouldn't do this now. It's just that it happened in increments, you know? You gave her a little bit more poison to swallow. You gave her a little bit more poison, and not like all at once back in her past. So like she had to make the big decisions, what she says earlier to Hope. She had to make a big decision fast. So Sharon says matricide or matricide. She's gonna kill her mother. I don't know. Seems like a tall order there.
I don't know. I would like to see someone bigger and badder than Elizabeth. Even honestly, I think there's a bigger baddie out there, and I want to see him.
One of the things Huck keeps saying about making the big decisions, and Hope finally does make the big decision. When Felix and Huck are fighting, I thought it was great. First of all, the doing their own stunts, the choreographing, like it wasn't perfect. Like it was a little choppy and hokey in some places, but like the one thing that I want to emphasize is how like even Felix in one scene, aka Nico Tortorella, makes the decision of saying, "You're dead." Yeah, I'm like, holy shit, he's committed. No, and on my second watch, I kind of noticed that like they're both fighting for something big. You know, Felix is fighting for his sisters. You know, Huck is fighting for the future, and I wrote this in bold capital letters. I said, these are two ideas, two halves of a whole, begging to be one, but diametrically opposed. This was the original like pitch for the show. And I feel like, and I don't want to see this when it comes to Iris and Hope, but I feel like eventually we may get it where somehow they're going to figure out a way to get them to be diametrically opposed to one another. And they're both going to have to explain why their side is better. And it's like the tragic loss. Because these whole 2 episodes are about.
So right. You're absolutely right. I go back to what Hope said in the back of the truck. She tells Iris, or Iris tells Hope, we're changing, we're growing. And Hope says, yeah, it's just the beginning. No.
I almost fell over there.
No.
Yeah. But it's these two, like when I described earlier, I described Iris and Hope. Like you're talking about things that complement one another. The taking risks versus calculating and taking the practical path to judging people correctly and then trusting them anyway and then not trusting them anyway. And then these are two halves of a whole, but in Felix and Huck's case, they're diametrically opposed and they're fighting for real. They're fighting for keeps, you know? And so when Hope finally makes the decision to kind of point the gun at herself, is like, you both want me to be safe. But if you don't stop, I'm going to blow my goddamn head off and you're all dead. This is one of the big decisions that Huck mentions. Yeah,
because she takes the silencer off too.
Yeah, I saw her
She takes the time to take the silencer off. Yeah, so it would be loud.
Exactly. And like drawing the walkers in, et cetera. Right. Yep. Okay, and so just like Felix had his big moment, trusting Iris, okay, saying, you can take care of yourself. You don't need me. In 6 weeks, you learned how to fight quicker than Hope has been training for a long time. I'm proud of who you are and who you'll become. He has a similar moment with Hope as well. He in kind of like a quick fashion, he's like, he doesn't want to understand Hope, but he has to trust her. This is, again, it's coming back to pointing the gun at him almost. It's like, he has to trust her. Hope continues to apologize to Iris, but Iris never doubted her. It's like, you'll find safety. I know you will. We will. And that takes you to the conversation about like your aces. I want you to know that in this life, you got to do bad to good. But then she rattles out, you'll find safety 5 miles north. Yeah. So there is something going on here. Like Huck knows more than she's even telling us. Like maybe she's in real deep, like with something else or someone else.
Sharon asked a question earlier that I was going to answer about Felix's leg. Did you think that Felix was bit? I didn't think it was a bite, but I was very concerned because, well, he said he slid it on a piece of the barbed wire.
Right.
Well, I immediately thought back to All Out War when Negan was dunking all their weapons into walker guts. And I'm like, it doesn't matter if you're bit. You got walker guts down in there, bruh. Like, you need to chop your ankle off, or like, you need to get rid of that.
Or like in Father Gabriel's case, having the
he just covered himself in guts, right?
Right.
He wasn't injured.
Right, that's true. I was just thinking, like, okay, if he had been taking, because what he said was to probably allay the fears of the viewers, like, oh, I've been taking antibiotics even before we went out.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, even if I do get blood in my system, it's not going to do much to me. So it's not that. So it's almost as if the show was telling us it's not that, and it's not that either. Who was it?
Yeah.
It was one of our group.
Yeah, I was more worried about infection, but I was sold on the barbed wire, Nick. You know, when he said it,
and then the sound effect later when we get the real view,
right?
Ka-ching!
I guess I bought it, but I did think to myself, like, you got caught on the back of the leg, and the walkers were in front of you. Does that make sense?
Well, you know, he stepped over the snare, I guess, or something. I don't know.
Yeah, right? I know.
I just thought the snare to begin with was kind of, just weird. Like, how do you step into that? How does that happen? I don't know. And Sherry says something. She says, I'm sorry, but taking antibiotics for a month straight is just going to mess up your immune system. And if you took them more than a month ago, they're not going to be effective anymore. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I think he meant like before they left the country club, I think. You know, after Percy and Tony, that whole thing. Maybe. I don't know why. I forget why. I have no idea. So
I might have to go back and listen to it again, because I'm with Sharondy. I feel like whatever he said made me think he took antibiotics before they left on this adventure.
Right.
And I'm like, and
I was thinking that seems like an awful long time, but yeah, we all know it couldn't have been that. So, but the wording was vague, though. Was vague enough.
Strange. Okay. All right.
The events that happened to Silas, Elton, and Percy do somewhat mirror Hope, Huck, Felix, and Iris in some ways, where you're asking to do something for the greater good. Silas is asked to do is heeding the call of doing something for the greater good, being the hero that he probably was meant to be, what Percy wants to be, and Silas is automatically. Elton finally coming to grips with the whole of his mother, to understanding what it takes to survive in this world, and understanding that she was faced with an almost impossible choice, the big decision. And she didn't make quite the best one, but he understands it. Hope having to finally dish out, and finally realize what's at stake, who's at stake, all of them. And in some ways, she still does care about Huck, for sure. Otherwise, why bother? Just waste Huck, move on, and actually join the CRM, because they're not going to stop finding her. So I feel like everybody is kind of coming to this reckoning where we have to understand what's going on here fast, and then we have to also kind of reckon with our past all at once and join the future, essentially. And the only noteworthy, like, other than, like, everything else seems cut and dry, in that, okay, Hope's path seems pretty clear, CR. Iris's path seems pretty clear, resistance. Okay, I'm feeling resistance vibe because she's the leader that she's meant to be, that whole spiel, right? And they're no good without each other. Okay, let's leave that there. Now, Silas, unknown. Elton, unknown. Silas, who knows? But he is finally stepping in. The good thing about these two guys is that Silas is stepping into his own. He is accepting whatever come what may. He is the hero that he imagined maybe could be. Iris, the person that saw me as the hero, is meant to be. Elton, unsure of himself instead of being sure of himself, not knowing what the fuck's going to happen. Like, this is exactly the opposite result of how we found him. The kind of know-it-all, has an answer for everything. I don't know. But no, this is refreshing. This is wonderful because it opens him up to possibilities, and we don't know where we can go from here, but anywhere we go, we can trust that he'll figure it out, because it took a lot of guts to figure out his mother in just that moment where it's like, he could have taken that with him. Like, like most of us know someone, or maybe even be the someone who takes a grudge with them to the grave. And knowing that there's no room for that in Elton's life and figuring it out really quick. I like that, especially when we know somebody who doesn't understand that life is too short. And hopefully, as a result, we'll come to reckoning, come to grips that you don't live forever. So don't take that with you to the grave. And to top it all off, Sharon D says, just a note, during their psych eval, Huck said, can't we just blame this all on my mother and be done with it?
That's an interesting thing to say. Didn't your mother die when you were a kid? Huh?
Yeah, what's how she died.
What kind of impact could she have had?
Well, she died in the most horrible way in front of my face. That's why I have this face. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we did a little bit of math to figure out how old Huck is. So if Huck's mom did die when she was a kid, it would have been pre-apocalypse.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I just answered a Reddit question today about how Felix was probably like 15, 16 during the fall. Huck might have been 21 to 22 around that time. So there is a significant difference in time, which answers also the question of why Felix had a younger version of himself played by a different actor versus Huck not getting that. So I thought that was very noteworthy. So if you like what you heard and you're on the audio podcast, do us a favor and communicate with us on ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead. 5 stars in an eggplant is all we need to know that you love us. But if you'd like to tell us what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, and what we could do better in the future, let us know. We will communicate with you through these comments and ratings. And by the way, we're doing killer in Australia right now. We're like literally 14th in TV reviews. It's crazy.
Awesome.
I'm like, in Italy, we're doing pretty good too. I just found that out today or yesterday. So go us. You know, I'll publish the results on the internet soon. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Australia.
And Austria. Don't forget Austria. We're killing it there.
And Austria. Thank you.
World tour. And so
I'm for it.
And if you're really, really digging on us and you like what we're doing, you want to support our journey, head over to ko-fi.com, coffee.com, set up an account, follow us at ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. When you do, you'll know when we drop our recording sessions, you know when we'll drop our unedited episodes. So you could take advantage of these supporter back posts and you could be a part of these recordings, be a part of the chat while we're recording. Now, if you buy us a coffee, you'll be able to see those posts for 30 days at least. Now, if you subscribe to a coffee a month, the party just keeps on rolling. You get to be a part of the show. You get to support the show and we get to grow and we get to do cooler things. Maybe I could quit my day job and move on. Either way, we'd appreciate your support. And again, I want to say this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in, taking the time.
Thank you.
And listening to us, watching us grow all this time after the past 3 years, because it is closing out 3 years and we're moving into the 4th now. Yeah. Happy birthday, us.
I'm coming around to my 2 years with you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Come another couple months.
March.
Yeah,
yep.
Exactly. So with that, everybody, it's going to be a little while till we see you again. We have episode 100 parts 2 through 5 to do for you. We have a holiday special to probably do for you guys. And so we'll figure it out. And we got some news. Obviously, we got some news. News is going to be coming out like crazy from here on in until we finally get the remaining 6 episodes of The Walking Dead season 10. So that's going to be February 28th. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of like a date.
And similarly, season 11 will be you'll have like a season A, season B, season 11A, season 11B, season 11C. So that's going to be kind of cool. I was going to say,
they're probably going to chop that up quite a bit, having, it's 24 episodes, right?
Yeah, you're going to get 2 mid-season breaks. So it's going to be 8, and 8.
Oh, okay.
That's generally how it's going to be. So
that'll be good.
Big things, man. And the movie's in development. We're getting closer. We just dropped an article about that in our socials. And if you're not following us on our socials and enabling notifications, you are a fool. We don't post that much, so you're not going to be getting hammered. So we'll see you very soon, sooner than you think, just so you know. But hopefully the end of chaos is finished. A huge weight has been lifted off of me as we've been trying our best to cover 2 episodes a week, every week, from the moment these episodes started streaming in again. I'm looking forward to taking somewhat of a looser formed episode recording schedule. I think you are too, Rachel. But
we take a little vacation.
Yeah, we still have a lot of content to give you. We have all the blogs to actually put up of the episodes that we just covered for the last 2 months, let's say. We'll see you very soon, sooner than you think. So with that, everybody, take care. We love you so much. Thank you for tuning in this mad, chaotic week, last several weeks, and take care of each other. We'll see you so soon. Bye.
Bye.